Because of the automation in revenue collection, it is much more efficient and also much more simpler for people to pay taxes and get real-time recognition of the taxes that they have paid. It is also possible, the automation of our tax systems enables people to self-assess and to self-declare, which is one of the biggest reforms that removes obstacles to business in this region. We all know that if we are relying solely on institutions to provide the assessments, this process alone could cause severe delays. But because of the automation, the responsibility and the ownership is placed in the hands of the investor, is placed in the hand of the taxpayer to declare and to determine their tax liability. And this has enabled significant efficiency achievements. Our internal processes are also automated, and these enable us to make quick decision making as well as to make quick payments and other functions for investment. The other reforms are hinging significantly around trade facilitation, and many of these you may be already familiar with. The one-stop border posts that have been opened around the major borders, but since we're in Tanzania, I'll specifically make reference to the one-stop border post at Mutukula, both on the Uganda and Tanzania side. These one-stop border posts operate on a 24/7 basis, and this enables both the movement of trade and goods in and out of Uganda seamless and fast. Before the implementation of the one-stop border posts, we would have goods staying at the border within customs control on average for about 5 days before they were cleared out of customs. But using the OSBP concept, these days it is not unusual to have goods cleared out of customs in 24 hours. And these are significant benefits arising for trade facilitation. Authorized economic operators, which are also recognized within the region, for those taxpayers or those importers or those operators who enjoy a very compliant profile, are able to clear their goods in a preferential manner without having to undergo significant checks at customs. The beauty about this is that we operate a regional authorized economic operator program, and the benefits that a person trading within the region or cross-border between Uganda and Tanzania is that the preferential treatment you enjoy in Tanzania, you will also enjoy in Uganda and vice versa. The single customs territory has demystified the fact that we do not have geographical proximity to the coast, because under the single customs territory, we now clear our goods as they arrive at the ports of Dar es Salaam, and if they're coming through Kenya, at the ports of Mombasa. And this enables the clearance of goods arriving at the ports to be done quickly. After the implementation of single customs territory, we now see goods clearing through customs right from the border to the hinterland in just 4 to 5 days, depending on the border that you use. We have other trade facilitation aspects which have enabled us to track revenue, but I'll specifically mention here the electronic single window. The electronic single window brings together all government agencies that are involved in the clearance of goods at customs under one platform, online platform, to remove the multiplicity of declarations that an importer has to make. So if someone is bringing in, for example, animals and is importing cattle, instead of making a declaration for customs, a declaration for veterinary services, a declaration for drug services, under the single window, there would be one declaration made, and all these government agencies would clear this transaction in one point. And this significantly reduces the time that goods have to spend through customs. Another regulatory reform or regulatory system that has enabled the ease of doing business is the partnerships that we have put in place, collaborative partnerships that we've put in place, not only with the business community, but also with other government agencies and other revenue authorities. Right now, through different memorandums of understanding or other business engagements, we have a very seamless and open partnership with business associations who are able to interface with us and raise matters at first hand for us to resolve. And captains of industry here should be able to attest to the fact that as URA, and I'm sure even in Tanzania, we've been able to meet different business associations who have peculiar needs and issues to raise with us that we have resolved. We enjoy partnerships across the region with other revenue authorities, specifically because we're in Tanzania with TRA. We have the East African Revenue Authority Commissioners General Forum, at which issues that we are all dealing with are discussed and resolved in one platform. So people who are interfacing with the revenue authorities in the region do not have to come to URA for solution and go to TRA for the same solution. They will find their solutions are similar across the region because they have been resolved as a result of these collaborations. Specifically for investment, we have the one-stop center operated by Uganda Investment Authority that brings together a number of institutions, regulatory institutions, the tax authorities, the utility companies, the social security fund providers, government registration businesses, for businesses under one center. Okay, it's back on. So the operation of the one-stop center enables investors to come and get all government services under one roof, and this significantly reduces the time for regulatory compliance, because within a week or so, an investor would have all the licenses that they need to operate their business. A number of administrative enablers that are important for investment, and I think this is something that we need to take advantage of. But the major business enablers that are available and which I think we need to focus on here as a destination in Uganda: the peace, the stability, security in all parts of the country. Infrastructure, we have very, very high standard infrastructure, excellent road infrastructure. Electricity is available in all parts of the country, widespread internet and telephone connectivity. It's impossible to find a place in Uganda where you're not able to connect to high-speed internet, as well as mobile and landline telephone services. And these are very important for investment and for business. One of the things that we usually take for granted, but which is a significant asset for business, is a youthful and technologically savvy population, because you'll be able to have and roll out IT programs and infrastructure, and you have people that are able to use them so that your business is more efficient and your business is fast and seamless. Educated and literate and an affordable workforce, people in Uganda are able to do all kinds of business because they are speaking, they are very illiterate, they speak English, and they're educated and hardworking. Those are assets for business competitiveness, as well, of course, as the availability and affordability of land. One thing that we perhaps don't control at the Revenue Authority, but which is a significant business enabler, is the robust financial systems that we have in the country. Electronic banking and online banking are the usual way of doing business these days. And it is not unusual to find a businessman who has taken a long time without entering a banking hall. And this is because not only are they able to bank electronically, there are other non-cash or digital currencies that they are able to use to facilitate their transactions. And of course, the payment of taxes and other government fees and levies is now done electronically with real-time recognition and real-time value recognition and reconciliation. So in a nutshell, these are some of the business enablers that make Uganda an attractive investment destination, that have simplified and eased the costs of doing business in Uganda. I thank you very much for listening to me.
Oh, he doesn't have a presentation, so. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Ms. Doris Ako. Right. And right now I'm going to invite the Deputy Commissioner from the Tanzania Revenue Authority, Mr. Msafiri Mbibo. Mr. Msafiri Mbibo ni naibu commissioner katika Mamlaka ya Mapato Tanzania, naye atazungumza kidogo kuhusu Mamlaka ya Mapato Tanzania. Karibu.
Wageni wa alikwa, jumuiya ya wafanyabiashara, mabibi na mabwana, habari za jioni. Jina langu naitwa Msafiri Mbibo, ni naibu kamishna mkuu wa Mamlaka ya Mapato Tanzania. Na ninabarikiwa na nashukuru sana kupata fursa ya kusimama hapa kuongea mambo machache kuhusu huduma ambazo Mamlaka ya Mapato Tanzania inazitoa kwenye eneo la biashara. Mamlaka ya Mapato Tanzania imekuwepo muda mrefu toka mwaka 1996 baada ya kuwa imetengenezwa kutoka kwenye idara mbalimbali zilizokuwa chini ya hazina ya Wizara ya Fedha, na kazi yake ni kukusanya mapato ya serikali. Mamlaka ya Mapato Tanzania imefanya jitihada mbalimbali ili kuhakikisha kwamba pamoja na kukusanya mapato ya serikali ili kutengeneza urali wa mapato nchini, lakini pia kufanya mahusiano na kutengeneza mifumo ambayo inawasaidia wafanyabiashara na jumuiya na uchumi kwa ujumla kufanya shughuli zao vizuri. Kwa hiyo kuna development nyingi ambazo zimefanyika na Mamlaka ya Mapato Tanzania na bado zinaendelea kufanyika ili tuhakikishe kwamba mazingira ya kufanya biashara nchini, lakini pia katika jumuiya yetu ya Afrika Mashariki yanakuwa ni mazuri na wezeshi. Kwenye biashara, kwenye kodi za kimataifa tumetengeneza mifumo mbalimbali, ikiwa ni pamoja na mifumo ya kukadiria kodi TANSIS. Tumetengeneza mifumo ya kufuatilia magari ambayo yanabeba mizigo au bidhaa zinazokwenda katika nchi jirani, ikiwa ni pamoja na Uganda. Inaitwa electronic cargo tracking system. Hii ni mifumo ambayo imetengenezwa ili kurahisisha na kuondoa vile vikwazo vya kikodi na visivyo vya kikodi pia, ya non-tariff barriers, ambapo tulikuwa tuna checkpoints nyingi, magari yakitembea yanasimamishwa sehemu mbalimbali. Kwa kutengeneza electronic cargo tracking system tumerahisisha sasa magari yanaweza yakaenda, ingawa hii haijawa katika mipaka yote, na tunaendelea kuboresha mfumo huu ili tuhakikishe kwamba nchi zote tunazozihudumia za Afrika Mashariki, ikiwezekana pia nje ya Afrika Mashariki, ziweze kunufaika na mfumo huu ili usafirishaji wa mizigo uwe ni rahisi zaidi. Lakini pia tumeendelea kufanya mashirikiano na mamlaka zingine, ikiwa ni pamoja na Uganda Revenue Authority, kujaribu kuondoa vitu vyote ambavyo tunaona kuwa vinaleta ukinzani katika kufanya biashara. Tunatambua kwamba bado kuna vikwazo, na tutajitahidi kwa kuwasiliana, ikiwa ni pamoja na forum kama hizi. Tunaendelea kupokea na kuona jinsi gani ambavyo tutaboresha mifumo yetu iweze kurahisisha biashara katika nchi hizi. Na hata maelekezo tunayoyapata kutoka kwa viongozi, vyote haya yanatusaidia katika kuhakikisha kwamba shughuli za kibiashara zinakwenda vizuri. Kama tunavyofahamu kwamba Jumuiya ya Afrika Mashariki tuna sheria ya pamoja ya forodha ambayo viwango ambavyo ni vya pamoja, isipokuwa tu labda kwenye maeneo fulani wakati watu waliokuwa wakifanya presentation au mawasilisho mbalimbali yaliyofanyika asubuhi, tumeipata concern ya magari kwenda Uganda yanachajiwa shilingi $500. Tumeipata hiyo, lakini tutaelewa kwamba hiyo ni viwango, yani ni rates za Afrika Mashariki zilizoko kisheria kwenye sheria ya Afrika Mashariki. Lakini hiyo haikatazi kuwa na makubaliano ya nchi na nchi, na sio jambo geni. Kwa maana hiyo katika forum kama hii, na kwa sababu ni forum ya kwanza, basi inaweza ikatupatia nafasi ya kujadili na kuona jinsi gani ambavyo tunaweza tukaweka viwango ambavyo tutakubaliana kati ya Tanzania na Uganda. Kwa hiyo niwaombe tu kwamba tunapojadili hapa tuangalie pia namna ambavyo tunaweza tukafanya, maana hilo sio kwamba ni geni, tumeshawahi kulifanya na nchi nyingine. Rwanda tumefanya nao, viwango vyao ni makubaliano ambayo tuliingia. Kwa hiyo nafasi au room ipo kwa ajili ya majadiliano. Lakini nitumie fursa hii pia kuwakaribisha wawekezaji na wafanyabiashara kutoka Uganda na hata nchi zingine za Afrika Mashariki kuja kufanya biashara Tanzania. Na pia nitoe wito kwamba Watanzania na wenyewe, kama ambavyo viongozi wetu wametuasa, waende kufanya biashara nchi zingine, especially Uganda. Mazingira ya biashara ya sheria kwa Tanzania, kodi ya mapato, kodi ya ongezeko la thamani, yametengeneza misamaha, yametoa nafuu, yani exemption and reliefs zimekuwa granted katika hizo sheria. Na ukiangalia exemptions na relief ni nyingi katika sheria zetu za Tanzania. Kwa hiyo hii yote sheria imetengenezwa ili kuweza kuhamasisha biashara kati ya Tanzania na nchi zingine ambazo zinaizunguka. Tanzania tunafahamu kwamba kijiografia Mwenyezi Mungu ametujalia mambo mengi. Tuna mipaka, tunapakana na nchi nyingi sana hapa kwenye ukanda wa Afrika Mashariki na Kati. Kwa hiyo tusiporahisisha huduma ambazo tunaweza kuwapatia wenzetu, maana yake ni kwamba tutakuwa tuna deny ile right yao ya kuishi na kuishi maisha mazuri. Kwa hiyo ni jukumu letu kuhakikisha kwamba tunafanya mawasiliano na maongezi mara kwa mara ili kuweza kutengeneza mazingira ya biashara yaweze kuwa mazuri zaidi. Sheria zetu za kodi ya mapato zina capital deductions, zina allowable deductions, zina reliefs, zina exclusions kwenye hizo sheria. Zote hizo ni nafuu ambazo zinapatikana kutoka kwenye domestic taxes. Lakini pia sheria ya ongezeko la thamani, yani value added tax, na yenyewe inazo reliefs mbalimbali na inatoa fursa kwa waziri au wakati mwingine kupitia makubaliano ya serikali na serikali au mashirika fulani ambayo kulingana na unyeti wa mradi au shughuli fulani, basi nafuu zinaweza zikatolewa kupitia kwa tamko la waziri, government notes inatolewa na nafuu zinapatikana. Haya ni machache ambayo naweza nikayasema kuhusu Mamlaka ya Mapato Tanzania na jumuiya ya biashara na uwezeshaji wa biashara kwa ujumla. Lakini labda kama jukumu letu sisi Mamlaka ya Mapato Tanzania ni kukusanya mapato ya serikali na kuyakadiria vizuri. Nitoe tu wito kwamba pamoja na kuwa tunataka kufanya tunafanya ile inaitwa simplified clearance procedure au simplification katika kufanya huduma zetu, hiyo haimaanishi kucompromise na standard. Kwa hiyo kama mamlaka ambayo imewekwa kusimamia sheria, sehemu ambapo sheria inasema hivi, basi tutaitekeleza. Hatuta compromise na standard kwa sababu tu kuna mtu anaweza akasema kuwa sisi tumeweka barrier katika kufanya biashara. Kwa sababu kwa kufanya hivyo kunaweza kukawa kuna madhara makubwa sana kwa mfanyabiashara mmoja, ambapo atakuwa treated tofauti na mfanyabiashara mwingine, na vile vile kuna hatari kubwa ya kutengeneza kacha ya watu ambao wanakuwa na sheria au taratibu alafu hawazifuati. Kwa hiyo kama chombo ambacho kimepewa mamlaka ya kusimamia sheria za kodi, tutazisimamia vizuri, lakini pia kwa sababu tuna role, tuna jukumu la kushauri serikali na tumeendelea kufanya hivyo. Tutaendelea kuishauri serikali kulingana na mazingira yaliyopo wakati huo kuweza kufanya mabadiliko ya sheria ili yaweze kuwezesha biashara. Nawashukuru sana kwa kunisikiliza na niko tayari kupokea maswali au concern yoyote kutoka kwa wafanyabiashara na kutoka kwenye jumuiya ambayo iko hapa. Asanteni sana kwa kunisikiliza.
Asante sana Mr. Msafiri. Kwa sasa ningependa kuwakaribisha naibu wakurugenzi katika Investment Center ya Uganda na Tanzania. Kwanza napenda kumkaribisha Mr. Martin Muhanji. Yes, Mr. Martin Muhanji from the Uganda Investment Center. He is the Deputy Director, Investment Promotion. Welcome, Mr. Muhanji. And his colleague, his counterpart, is Mr. Abubakar Ndwata, who is the Investment Promotion Manager, Foreign Department, and they will each speak about their different the work that they do and why you should invest in each of these countries. And then after that, we'll have just a short session before we get into the plenary. And also just a reminder that we have a business to business that's happening at Ruaha Hall. And just for starters, they're making it easier for you. So if you are in the manufacturing, agriculture, agribusiness, or transport and logistics, there are sessions going on now. And then once they're back, we'll have another set of people. So if you want to have a business to business and you're in these sectors, manufacturing, agriculture and agribusiness, transport and logistics, please, you can head to Ruaha. Right now, Mr. Martin, please welcome.
Thank you very much. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. All protocol is observed. This afternoon, I will take you through Uganda's competitiveness in East Africa with specific reference to Uganda's investment environment. Yes, the outline for my investment, for my presentation is as follows. Uganda's open economy, Uganda's competitive cost drivers that drive investment and business, investment opportunities, the incentive regime that supports investment, and the reforms that we have done at Investment Authority that support the ease of doing business in Uganda. Uganda is an open economy. All sectors of the economy are liberalized for investment. We also allow 100% ownership of investments in Uganda by foreigners. We also allow the free inflow of capital, and you can easily, as an investor, take out capital. Then security for the investment is guaranteed through two main legislations: the Constitution, which is a mother law, and the Investment Code Act. Investors are free to repatriate profits out of the country. And lastly, we are part of the fast growing common market, the East African common market. What are the hallmarks of an open economy with specific reference to Uganda? Is that foreigners can wholly and privately own investments. Second is that foreigners can also join with domestic investors to own investments. And lastly, there is also a model where investors can partner with governments through public-private partnerships. What are the cost drivers that affect investment? Majorly, 5 or 6. The first one is labor, transport, property costs, power, and water. How has Uganda fared with regard to these costs? Uganda has enough labor in terms of the labor that is available to be recruited, trained labor. Majority of the Ugandans have gone through the lowest education system to post-tertiary institutions, and they are willing to participate. The statistic here from the World Economic Forum places Uganda at the top of the position in terms of the labor that is available for employment. With regard to transport, Uganda has made significant investments in the infrastructure. The major roads leading to the districts around 17,000 kilometers connecting into the different districts have been made. Over 21,000 kilometers of national roads have been done. And at present, we have the latest completed express highway that connects from the Kampala Business Hub to the Entebbe International Airport, which has just been done. And that significantly eases the doing of business in Uganda. In addition, coupled with this, the major airport, the Entebbe International Airport is under construction, massive construction, and recently we have the Uganda Airlines, which has resumed the air business. Utility, we shall have over 2,000 megawatts of electricity on the grid soon. That will support our manufacturing entities and industrialization program. In addition, when we look at costs, statistics from FDI benchmark, Financial Times, indicate that we are competitive with 80% of Kenya's cost. In terms of water, over 253 towns are connected with water. They have access to water. And in terms of property costs, industrial rental shed, we average between $4, $6 per square meter. In the light of what we have addressed in terms of cost drivers, we see Uganda in a very good position in terms of food exports in the rest of the world as the number one, together with Tanzania ranking in the best positions. And also, in terms of our export to Sub-Sahara, we still fare so well. This is sourced from the World Bank World Development Indicators. So what are the investment opportunities? The investment opportunities that we have in Uganda, Uganda is an agriculture-led economy where the majority of our population depends on agriculture for a living. It's a backbone of the economy. We are looking at commercializing agriculture to increase productivity, and opportunities exist across the following areas: storage facilities, processing plants, inputs for agriculture, farm machinery, packaging of the products, and transportation and marketing and distribution of the products. In terms of tourism, tourism is growing exponentially. We are getting about 1.4 to 1.6 million visitors every year. And the opportunities that exist are in the high to medium end accommodation along the tourist circuits. And in order to reach some of the areas across the country, we need more investments in aviation and water. Mining. We have over 50 mineral types in Uganda, and the major minerals that we have include iron ore, over which we have established, and we now have over 200 million tons of proven iron ore. We also have significant quantities of oil and gas. The opportunities that are available there is mining and processing plants to add value to our minerals, oil storage facilities, logistics to transport machinery to extract oil and also to get the oil out of the ground, and the establishment of laboratories. We consider ICT as a very important sector, and in Uganda, it is the fastest growing sector, recording double-digit growth over the last few years. In fact, statistics from Internet World indicate that Uganda is ranked 15th in the African internet usage and penetration. What are the opportunities? The opportunities we have are business process outsourcing, software development and services, ICT hardware, manufacturing and assembly, data warehousing and data management, training centers, and development of quality ICT infrastructure. We indeed have a very good health incentive regime, which is well structured and embedded in our tax laws. The incentive regime has the following exemptions and benefits. We have a 10-year tax holiday incentive in specific sectors of the economy. In the industrial park, for investors who are investing in industrial parks, investors who are investing in free zones, investors who are processing agricultural products. We are looking at value addition and manufacturing, and that is why we are taking cognizance of this and incentivizing it heavily. We have 10-year tax holiday incentives for exporters, investors who are involved in export and who export more than 80% of both capital and consumer goods outside the domestic market. And the domestic market here, I mean the East African Community member states. We also have import duty exemptions on plant and machinery, and VAT is also deferred on, VAT deferred mechanism is available on the plant and machinery. Land is available to investors in industrial parks in the 4 priority sectors: agro-processing, tourism, ICT, and mineral beneficiation. We've also done some reforms in a bid to ease the process of doing business and investment. Uganda Investment Authority is now a one-stop center where we house about 12 agents, government agencies that are issuing permits, licenses, and other services like environmental impact assessment, trading licenses, tax identification, getting the tax identification number, Bureau of Standards, Free Zone Authority. All these entities, including ourselves who are issuing investment licenses, are available at one-stop center. And what has this benefited the country? Key achievements. Investors can incorporate a company in 4 hours. Number 2, you can access tax registration in less than 24 hours. 3, we are able to issue the investment license in 48 hours. And this can be done, done and can be accessed online through our web portal, www.ebiz.go.ug. Visa acquisition is also available online, and we have a resident office of immigration at the one-stop center. Permits, licenses are issued at one-stop center. Thank you very much for listening. Asante sana. Invest in Uganda.
Thank you very much, Mr. Martin. I'd now like to invite Mr. Abubakar to speak on behalf of the Tanzania Investment Center.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. My name is Abubakar. I'm from Tanzania Investment Center. I'm going to try to deliver my message in English so that Ugandans understand well. You don't have to wear the microphones. I will try. So this, of course, I'm doing this on behalf of the Executive Director of the Tanzania Investment Center. Greetings from us, and we welcome you to continue investing in our country, because we have got a number of projects from Ugandans, and you'll see in my slides later. So the agenda is to make a little bit of an introduction. I'll go through an economic overview of the country and why invest in Tanzania. That's a very important slide. And the investment incentives that we offer, but much has been said by the Commissioner of TRA, and investment opportunities in Tanzania, and then I'll make a conclusion. Now, as a country, we aim at becoming an industrialized economy and a logistics hub for Africa. And we are saying this because we have everything. We have the ports, we have the roads, the railways, and everything. So we aim at becoming a logistics hub, and of course, becoming an industrialized country by 2025. So our institution, TIC, has been mandated by the government to champion the industrialization vision. And of course, we are the facilitators of all investors coming to our country. Now, so our work is to coordinate investments. If you wanted to meet stakeholders related to the sector that you are in, we can organize such meetings, and of course we are encouraging that's what I'm going to do to try and encourage you invest in our country. Of course, promoting and investing. So we also advise the government on all the investment policies that we have put in place. So we'll be happy to hear from you and see where we can improve, because there's always a room for improvement. Now, at TIC, we understand that to invest in our country, you'll have multiple, a number of licenses that you have to acquire them. So we have made it easy for investors. We provide all this in just one-stop shop. If you come at TIC, then everything is finished there. You don't have to go to the NEMC, you don't have to go to the BRELA and all the institutions related to your investments. This is just a graph indicating our economic overview. We have been growing constantly at around 7%. And we hope we'll be growing at the same rates in the future. And this is some analysis done by some smart people around the world that we are the seventh. We are in the top 10 best destinations in Africa. So we are number 7. Maybe in the future we'll be number 1, so that everybody comes to Tanzania for investment. And this is why this is why investing in Tanzania is a good thing. The very first thing is peace and the political stability. As you know, we are the land of peace. And of course, Uganda also is the land of peace in many African countries. We have that economic stability. We are very rich in natural resources. We have signed different investment guarantees and different, of course, you have seen in the morning some signings of MOUs just to make trade and investment easier between Uganda and Tanzania, and of course Tanzania and the rest of the world. And we have also, we are the signatories of many treaties around the world. And of course we serve different, of course they are no longer landlocked countries these days. We call them land-linked countries. So we serve Uganda, we serve Rwanda, Burundi, and the rest of East Africa and Mozambique and the Eastern Congo. So if you invested here, there's big market. And of course you got to access the EAC with a population of 162 million people, but also the SADC. And our president has just assumed the chairman of the SADC bloc, I think in just a few weeks ago. The other, in terms of political appraisal, when we are doing project appraisals, we've got 2 parts, the financial part and the political part. So in the political appraisal, this picture speaks all. You see, we have all those presidents, and they speak the same language, they call each other on their phones, so there's no problem investing here. We have no problems after elections, so it's all peace in our country. So please come and put more money. Now, this slide is concerned about the normal investors. When I talk about a normal investor, the capital is just $100,000 US. So if you are a normal investor, then you get this list of incentives. This is zero rated import duty on capital goods, and of course raw materials. You only pay 10% on import duty on semi-finished goods and 25% of the final consumer goods. We also have incentives on capital allowances, and of course depreciation allowances. And even the VAT, I think the commissioner mentioned about the VAT deferment. If you produced vatable items, you can receive or you can have your VAT payment deferred for 10 years. And of course, if you produced in the manufacturing sector and the pharmaceutical industries, your corporation tax is reduced to 20% instead of 30%, the usual 30%. Now the others, non-fiscal incentives about, of course, the working, the human resources. You'll have 5 people coming from your country. And of course, you can transfer money in terms of profits. If you wanted to pay for repayment of loans, royalties, and other, payments, remittances of your loans to your country. As far as, it's important to use the banks that are registered in our country, not, trying to smuggle profits out. Let's just understand it and know the transactions you're making. The other important slide is called, for an investor with 50 million and above, you can qualify to be a strategic investor. And here, all the incentives and everything is negotiable. You sit with the government to discuss what incentives you wanted for your business. These are some statistics on investments made in our country. Of course, China is number 1, but we have also Uganda. Uganda is number 28, and we have invested in 22 projects, creating 2,230 jobs, investing about 143 million US dollars. If I were Tanzanian, I could give a, thank you very much. And as far as East Africa is concerned, you are the second from Kenya. And of course, you have invested much in agriculture. And of course, agriculture is the Oroto of our country. Is it the Oroto or the backbone or something we just invented in the morning? Now, in terms of opportunities available, we have opportunities in the automobile industry. You can come and make vehicles here. We are still using used cars, so you can put an assembly plant in our country. There are other opportunities on pharmaceuticals. As you can see the numbers there, the key facts. But of course, we have an organization called MSD. It has just been awarded, I think, by SADC countries to procure bulk procurement for the SADC countries. So if you invest in pharmaceuticals, that's an opportunity open for you. The other opportunity is on edible oils. We are still importing from other countries, but we also have plenty of land in Tanzania, and of course it's cheaply available. In some areas you can be given for free, so please take that opportunity. The other one is cotton and textiles. We produce a lot of cotton here, but we are lacking that processing part, so you can take that opportunity. We have opportunities in real estate. And of course, as an information to the Ugandan investors, we have just moved our capital to Dodoma. So Dodoma needs a lot of houses to accommodate all these government officials going there. And of course, we need hotels in Dodoma, 5-star hotels, etc., because such meetings in a very near future will be held in Dodoma. So it's an opportunity for you to use. The other one is on livestock and leather industry. You know, we are the second in Africa from Ethiopia. So everything that you can think about livestock, you can easily invest in our country. The other one is about cane sugar. We are still importing 100% of industrial sugar from other countries. So you can use that opportunity. And the demand is growing. People are using a lot of sugar in our country. The other opportunities on fish and aquaculture. You know, we have got a very big coastline, a very long one. It stretches for about 1,424 kilometers. So you can see that the territory is quite huge. And the other opportunities on mining, I know you have also minerals in Uganda, but I think Tanzania is full of minerals. You can see the map there. Everywhere you go is about minerals. And of course, Tanzanite is from Tanzania. I would like to stress that point. So, just the sky is the limit here. Other opportunities are available on real estate, on infrastructure network. You can build your own roads, your own airports, railways, etc. The other one is on oil and gas. I know Uganda has got oil. We have been discussing about the pipeline from Uganda in the morning, but we also have gas, about 54 trillion cubic meters. So it's an opportunity for you to come and invest here. The other one is on agriculture, where you have invested much as a country in Tanzania. And of course, we are encouraging much investment on the value chain of what we produce in Tanzania. The other one is on tourism and leisure industry. Of course, we are home of so many attractions. And of course, we are, I think, second from Brazil, if you rank us in the world. I don't know, in East Africa, maybe we can be the first. And Mount Kilimanjaro is in Tanzania. You can come and visit the mount, or you can invest in safaris, etc. The other one is, of course, the Serengeti National Park, and we have got the Ngorongoro crater, which is next to none. And the big fives are present in. Of course, you can find all these animals in the Ngorongoro crater. So, if you invested in having a tour company, you are assured of making profits. The other one, the other opportunities on trade. Of course, this is what we export to Uganda. Of course, coffee, sisal tea, etc. We also export some industrial products, as you can see on the slide. There are many countries and many companies investing in Tanzania, multinationals. We have Dangote, we have Pepsi, Coca-Cola, etc., as you can see on the slide. Having said that, I thank you very much for listening, and karibuni sana.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. As you're aware, I'm sure you're aware, we are really running out of time. And unless there's a really burning question, okay, I'll take that one question. You were very quick, so use the microphone on your table. Your name and a quick question to whoever you're asking. We have both TCI, TIC, and UIA, and URA, and TRA. Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. This is Dr. Salum Kihemba, Executive Chairman, Kisan Group. I have a question to, number one, to the Ugandan revenue authorities. First of all, I need to applaud you for the very good infrastructure framework for investment in your country. But a quick question. When, in terms of income tax payment, do an investor pay tax? Is it on the placement of the capital? Because we have had its free inflow of capital, but when do I have to settle for the, as an investor, when do I have to settle for the income tax? Is it on the time when I'm forming a company?
Sorry, your microphone went off. Sorry. Okay.
Yeah, so when, that's one. And then for Tanzanian, TRA. Sasa, sisi wa Tanzania, samahani natumia Kiswahili, tunafikiria nini kwenye kuwa na free inflow of capital kwenye uchumi wetu? Yani mtu kama anatoka nje anakuja kuinvest Tanzania, what is our strategy kwenye hiyo free inflow of capital in terms of money, not machinery, not human resource?
Asante. Thank you. Can I get one on investment? Because I really want to call the panels and I don't want to waste any time. If it's on investment, is it investment? Not tax, but investment. Okay, there's a mic in front of you.
Thank you. I'm Adam. I'm from Uganda. I'm representing the private sector. My inquiry is about, there's a border, we share several border posts with Tanzania. Among them is Mutukula, and then there's the Chikagati border. To the Tanzanian people, do you hope to put that to use as well? Because the Mutukula border seems to be functional, but the other one is not. Yet they both link the two countries. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I'll ask Doris, you had the first question, and then TRA and Tanzania Investment Center. Yes, Doris.
It's about Mutukula and Chikagati. It's actually a revenue authority question.
All right, go ahead, Doris. The mic.
Thank you very much for your question. When an investment is made in the country, it depends on what kind of investment and what sector the investment is being made. Once the project is up and running and the entity begins to earn income, then tax will become payable. Income tax will become payable depending on whether the entity is operating either as an individual or a non-individual. If it's operating as a non-individual, a corporate entity, corporation tax will become payable on the profits that the entity will be making from the investment. But again, it is dependent on the sector, because there are some sectors which are enjoying an income tax exemption, like agro-processing and agribusiness, and then also some exports. If the exports are 80% finished goods made in the country, they enjoy a corporation tax exemption. Plus, of course, now recently with other sectors, tourism, investing in industrial parks. But if it is a trading, for example, a trading investment, once the income starts coming in and the entity begins to make profit, then income tax becomes payable. And usually on a normal business flow projection, this should be within the 3rd to 5th year of operation, if it is on average and everything is moving as planned. Entities tend to break even in the 3rd year and begin to make profit thereafter.
Thank you very much for the question, which was about what do we think of free inflow capital. Let's think together. For the moment, we are, I mean, we don't have any hindrance for anyone who wants to come and invest if he has money. If I got you correctly, if he has money, everybody are free to come to Tanzania and make investment. Maybe this question can be handled well by Tanzania Investment Center, because they are the one which grants incentives. So maybe my counterpart from Tanzania Investment Center will handle this question. About the border at Mutukula, I don't know which border do you refer, because all custom centers in Uganda, Tanzania border are in place and they are working for the moment. But if you mean that we need to add another point, then we will consider. but it needs to make a feasibility study and be sure that the area is consistently have enough transactions coming to Tanzania and going to Uganda. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think the Commissioner said it very well, that we welcome investors from all the sectors of the economy, even the financial sector. You asked a question about the free inflow of capital. I think you meant on financial capital. We invite people to come and finance projects in our country, so they can come and follow the registration procedures, even
him. He said to me last night that digital highways are just as important as physical highways in today's world. But again, I want to ask, I think I'm going to ask this to Sandra. How will digital transformation change the world of financing? And then the second part is going to go to Patrick. So if we all go digital, what happens to the 260 branches that CRDB has all over Tanzania? And what happens to the people who work in those branches? How do they earn? So it's a two-part question.
Thank you, Olivia. Before I respond to that question, I beg your indulgence and allow me to say this. You know, the difference with this particular dynamic right here is that everybody in this room is looking to create partnerships and consortia or going to joint ventures to actually trade between the two countries. So we need to look at models that will be translated into suiting the needs of the SMEs here on the ground. So some of the questions, some of these small and medium enterprise, and I hope some of the industry players will be able to ask the same questions, is what is a bankable project to you as a bank? You know, right now, if you cannot change the interest rates as it sits because they're determined by the central bank, then how do we level the playing field in terms of the cost of borrowing? You know, if we can look at a product, you know, that could be tailored to the interest of an industry player, you know, on the ground. For example, in agriculture, is it possible to have an amortization product, you know, or a project that can be a loaning facility that can consider the seasonal dynamics within, you know, an agro-industry business? So those are some of the questions that they always ask about. In terms of a credit worthiness, I've had farmers who come to me and say, you know, they just, I couldn't get the loan because my books, exactly what you're saying, my accounts and bookkeeping were not in order, but I don't have the financing to cover those particular costs right now. You know, they keep on diverting their finances into other operational overhead costs. Is there a possibility for the bank to groom small and medium enterprises to suit their requirements, their criteria, so they can become loan or credit worthy? And that sort of links to the question that Olivia has asked in terms of digital financial inclusiveness or using digital solutions to access the financial space. I believe Tanzania and Kenya are actually best practice models in terms of digital financial solutions. Mobile payment solutions are used very frequently here. I believe EAC, SADC, and COMESA have also set up regional payments and settlement schemes that allow bank-to-bank payments using the digital ecosystem. And there's quite a bit of discussion right now about setting up digital payment platforms for retail that can help the smallest businessman, the micro, small, and medium enterprise carry out cross-border transactions at a very cheap rate, at a very cheap transactional rate. So these models are being set up, they're being discussed by various partners. Right now, we see that the financial ecosystem includes the mobile network operators, which is it's interesting times actually in Africa and the rest of the world. The mobile network operators, technology companies, you see some of the merchants are also part of this particular space. And there's quite a bit of interest in moving from competition to collaboration. And I believe Patrick will enlighten us a little bit more about this, because now the banks have realized that it's very possible to reach that same market share using the mobile network outreach. But that doesn't mean that the branches have to actually disappear. There probably is still a use for it. But then again, the one thing that's actually breaking this particular pattern is digitization. Because now we know that we don't actually have to walk to a bank to access a loan. We know we don't have to walk to a bank to carry out a transaction. We know that digital wallets are probably the safest, most secure, and transparent way to carry out business right now. We know that a digital wallet is the easiest form of doing business or even sending monies from one customer to another, and you don't have to have the stigma or the psychology as a small and medium enterprise to actually walk into a bank. So there's a lot of dynamics that are actually coming out within digital transformation, but I still want to go back to my question. How do we become credit-worthy as SMEs? And what is considered a bankable project right now for a small and medium enterprise? And if we were to collaborate as partners in Tanzania and Uganda to set up consortiums and the like, can we reach out to the banks, to the financial solution providers to help us structure ourselves in a way that suits your requirements as a bank? Thank you.
I know there's several questions. One came from me, one came from her, and we only have 5 minutes left. But maybe talk about, maybe Patrick actually might have a story about reskilling. So what happens to those people that are rendered kind of out of employment because of digitization? Have you encountered it?
I'll answer a bit of hers. Banking is still about a relationship. If you're considering a business, get to know who your bankers are. Go to a branch, go to the branch manager. Let them get to know you before you actually need the money. Because if they understand your business down the road, chances are they will help you qualify for that money. Many of us wait until the day you need the money to show up to your banker. And the banker says, well, I don't know you. Or you are banked in different, you have got a number of little accounts in different accounts. And the guy says, you know, I wish I was your bank, I would deal with you. So you create a relationship now. And it doesn't matter whether the deal you're going to do is cross-country or cross-border into Tanzania. Once the banker understands your business, he will work with you and help you. Digitization is here, whether or not we want to. And the greatest thing you're going to face in your business is somebody is going to disrupt your business if you're not the one disrupting it. Because things are happening so fast today. We used to think that you needed to drive from Dar es Salaam to Mwanza to basically do transactions. Now you don't. Now you think if you owned a lorry or you own trucks that used to ferry products from Dar es Salaam to Mwanza, now the SGR has come. Now suddenly your business is disrupted. The thing is to constantly be on the lookout and do it. The biggest thing we have to do with our employees, and we're facing that in NSF today, is we transform them. Because if I look at you as my customer and begin to feel your pain, I can transform my staff to bring value to you by doing something completely different I've not done before with you, so that they can still work and help. So digitization and really knowing your customer become critical, because that's the only way you can actually change whatever we're doing today and still meet the value proposition and the customer expectations that we have.
Right. I think you actually had a story about that within NSSF. I thought people would like to hear it. How you have changed some of your staff from one thing to another.
What happened is in NSSF, I think we have some of the best IT department today in East Africa. So they're really good. These guys are 28 years old and so on. And what happened is we thought we had it 2 years before they do certain things for us. Now, for a pension fund, what we do is we collect members' money, we invest the money, and then when they're eligible, we pay it. They've created apps. Now the member does not have to come to our office to register. Does not even have to come to our office to monitor his savings. He can just do it on the phone. He doesn't have to our office to claim the money. He can do it over the phone. Now that's 50% of our workforce. And they were shocked because when they ran the app 3 months ago, they walked down to the banking, the hall, the customer hall. There were like 75 members waiting to be served. This IT guy said, okay, how many of you have phones? All of them had phones. Okay, now you need to do this. So he walked them through in 5 minutes. All 75 had registered. And our staff got the shock of their lives. Their jobs were gone. Completely gone. Right. Now we are scrambling. What we thought we needed to do 2 years now, we have to do it now. To transfer our staff to become financial consultants. Because what we realize what's missing in Uganda is people are not financially literate. The same thing the president talked about. So you don't just go and talk to the person about retirement. You need to be able to talk to him about insurance now. We have a local market that got burnt a few years ago. You walk into that man now and you say, you know what, the market got burnt.
What are you doing to protect your business? But we've brought a consortium of insurance companies, negotiated premiums that are affordable. You can buy insurance to protect your business. If you've got 2 children, they're going to go to school, what are you doing? So you bring the whole financial solution to the member, and staff are so excited because suddenly they're finding themselves financial consultants in a place where nobody even thought about bringing value to members.
Excellent. Thank you so much for that. One last question for everyone on the panel to round this out. Just the last question for everybody. I'm going to start with you, Oscar. But if you could wave a wand and change something, what would that be and why?
So since I'm in the money business, availability of long, affordable funding, I think, is key. And I say this because there are so many areas of business that require this. If you look at the plans for Tanzania to become an industrialized country, most of these projects require long-term money. You can't do it with the short-term loans that the banks offer effectively. So I think that is one thing that I would love to see, availability of plenty of long-term funding so that we can build on our development. But I know the reality today, as it was said here before, given the landscape of our financial sector in the region, we still need a mix of external funding and some internal funding, because currently our markets cannot support the quantum and the rates are too high. So I think the balance, and I'm looking forward to talk to Patrick, both Patricks, to see where this negative earning funding abroad it is,
yeah.
And NSSF, if they can support some of the funding requirement for long-term funding. So that's my wish, and hopefully someday to become true.
Right.
Thank you.
Patrick, you're going to have to tell us where that money is. Sandra.
My vision would be to see a lot of at least a majority of the SMEs in Africa having access to a marketplace, an online marketplace where they could place a lot of their products, so that we're able to buy and sell amongst ourselves, and also because within a digital ecosystem would be able to improve on their credit worthiness, would be able to trace them, would be able to know how they're financially viable. And if we could see a multi-stakeholder engagement from the banks and other stakeholders in the tech industry to push SMEs or to support SMEs integration into digital systems and ecosystems across Africa, I think would definitely strengthen our competitiveness as an industry.
You're right.
In the continent.
That's right. Thank you.
I think the thing would be fiscal discipline. All of us here are forced in our household to live within our means. If you make $1 million shillings, that's what you can only spend. If our governments, our parliaments, could be more fiscal disciplined, then the cost of money we are seeing could be contained and calm down.
Right.
Our problem also, but in Tanzania is a bit different. Tanzania reduced its cabinet, I believe, to 19 from, I think it used to be like 30 or 40. And they were trying to reduce that public expenditure. In Uganda, we've expanded. We've gone the other side in terms of what we do. But I think we just need to get the fiscal discipline. Because at the end of the day, capital is a coward. Someone says, no, capital is a coward. And you pay price each time there's unsteadiness in the capital. So if we can manage our own businesses, our monies within the resource base we have, we can begin then to bring that cost of funding down.
Thank you, Patrick. The last Patrick, please dream big. Think, what really could you just wish? I'm giving you a blank slate. Really, what could you wish? What do you wish for?
Actually, I'm not going to dream big, but I think what I'm dreaming is really important. And I think it would be along the lines of what Patrick is saying, getting the regulatory framework to be a bit more agile, to have the public sector and the private sector to work more collectively together, because the problem is massive and it's changing. And unfortunately, we're competing in this region or in Africa with one hand tied behind our back. I'll give an example, agency banking, which is a no-brainer. This allows for banks to use agents to do basic banking work. took 7 years to pass in Uganda. 7 years to go through the central bank, the regulatory framework, the parliament to sign off. I mean, something that simple and that obvious to take 7 years is criminal. So we have no chance to get anything going if we can't get the agility going on the public side. So that would be my wish. Yeah.
I believe that's a big dream, dreaming that public sector and private sector could work closely together and achieve all our dreams. Well, thank you so much, everybody. I would like to ask the MC if we have any time at all for questions. We do? Okay, I see how many, could just put up some hands and how many questions?
4.
2, 3, 3? Maybe 3, okay. 2.5. Okay, he put his hand up first, so please go. And then Mr. Karhanga and the lady. That's it.
I am Salvatore from Tanzania. I am a retired consultant and I'm doing consultancy. My question is really a concern because here I am going to a bank because I don't have collateral. I have my savings, and they tell me, all right, you can put as FDR, fixed deposit, 90% of your money, and you borrow from that. Now, you can borrow from your savings, and they put the FDR. The interest rate for my money is 22%. The interest rate is 13% for my money, but I'm borrowing from them. They're charging me 22%. But my return on equity is about 18%. And here I'm really frightened because I see the banker running away with my money. I just want to see how you guys, if you were an advisor, what would you advise me to do? That's A. B, there is an ongoing policy in Tanzania that capital aimed at investment should be channeled through the financial institutions or banks in Tanzania. Now, here you have very large investors coming to do an LNG project, $30 billion. And you're looking around to see who is going to hold that money as a Tanzanian institution. Where will it go? Tell me of an innovative way of how, if they brought $30 billion for an LNG project and it had to be channeled, because the government has directed that, it has to be channeled through here, through the banking system here. How would you absorb it? Thank you.
Who would like to take part A and who would like to take part B?
You have your money, you went and got a fixed deposit, they're giving you 2%. You want to borrow against it, they want to give you 22%. You negotiate. Actually, depending on the amount of money you have, there is where a bank will willingly give you 10, 12%. It has happened. So whatever they tell you, you go back. If you have to be the MD, go to the MD and negotiate. You'll actually get a good rate.
On your second point, yeah, I don't want to be critical, but the way I would answer that question is that banking or finance or banking institutions as a percentage of capital for an economy like Tanzania or in its development phase usually should only account for about 30%. So 70% of that capital should come from elsewhere. So a policy that is channeling the entire amount of investment through one channel, I think is a wrong one. Because at the end of the day, banks work with capital that's required, regulatory capital. So if you are trying to then, because you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot, you're basically saying that banks can never receive more capital than they have. So then you're creating a ceiling, an artificial ceiling on how much money can come through the banking system. So the innovative way I would say there is to allow the government to create other third parties, maybe trusts or escrows. That's what we've done in Uganda. A lot of money goes through escrows, so it's managed by the bank or another institution, but it's an escrow. It doesn't come into the bank itself and then affect capital ratios, etc. So that would be my advice.
That's pretty interesting. Mr. Karhanga.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm going to do a bit of advertising on myself. I am
on yourself or on your business?
On my business.
Okay.
I'm a lawyer working for a law firm, Kampala Associated Advocates. So we recently invited Patrick Mwehere to come to our retreat and talk to us about how we can make a difference. During the retreat, we found out that we could actually start an amazing agriculture practice. And we would probably be the first law firm to start an agriculture law practice with a bank, with insurance companies, and with Social Security Fund. And how do we do that? We got the idea when I had Sandra Owera saying that about 80% of the people in agribusiness today, they bust when they borrow money. And so my association with another bank in Uganda, DFCU Bank, brings in Rabobank, which is the largest cooperative bank in Netherlands, and was a AAA bank when the collapse of banks happened and remained uninterrupted. So when they came to talk to us at the bank, I stood up and told them the following facts. One, that Denmark is below sea level. That's where they come from. And they grow one season a year. And they use a lot of fertilizers to change their soils, which are completely salty. Uganda, on the other hand, is luckier than Netherlands. It's above sea level, has very fertile soils, has full-time peasants who know agriculture. They cannot borrow any money. But guess what? Denmark makes, from its one season, $92 billion euros a year. 92 billion euros a year from agriculture. Then the Netherlands is a sixth. There are 6 Netherlands to get to the size of Uganda. There must be 12 to get the size of Tanzania. Yet Uganda's GDP is 28 billion. And from them, for agriculture, they make 92 billion in one season. So this is how my practice is going to be a big, big boom business. We found out, I'll tell you the secret. Thank you. We found out that the reason banks fear lending to agriculture is because nobody has thought about it. When you think about it, the first thing the people in Netherlands do is they cannot give you money in agriculture unless you have tested your soils. So there must be a soil sample. And the person who tests those soil samples must be a certified soil tester. In our case in Uganda, we only have one certified soil tester, Makerere University. Which peasant has taken his soil to Makerere University for soil testing? Which banker can lend money to anybody in agribusiness without having the results of a certified soil tester? So once you have established that, then you find out what is missing in this soil. Then it must be fertilizers. What type of fertilizer? You put in the right mix of fertilizer in that tested soil sample. And that fertilizer must not be a fake fertilizer imported, passed by URA, and arrives on our market when it is fake, Doris. You must certify that fertilizer. Once that fertilizer is mixed with the tested soil, then you must look for seed. Now, who is certifying the seed in agriculture? None. There is a seed seller here. Mr. Gromo, are you here from Uganda in Bugolobi? I don't know who certifies your seed in your company to bring to my farm. So if I have a certified seed with a certified soil, with certified soil, seed, and fertilizer, and I go to a bank, the bank should ask me, do you have water? And then I tell him, look, I don't need to do that. I can only rely on God on water. But if I can afford a little bit of irrigation, then surely what should stop any bank from giving me money to develop my business? Because somewhere in the prairies, an American farmer, having done all that, got into his maize field, broke the maize in half, counted the seeds on the maize, multiplied with the lines on the maize, and then multiplied with the acreage he had done, and he knew how much grain he was going to develop in that season. So if I come to you and say, Stanbic, give me money, these are my facts, this is what I'm going to produce, what would stop you? And so my law firm and your bank, I told the Rabobank I'm coming to Stanbic. My bank, my NSSF, my insurance companies who have formed a consortium through local content in Uganda with 200 billion should be able to see our agriculture in Africa supersede the agriculture in Netherlands, and not only give us $92 billion, it will be 92 billion euros times 6 the size of Netherlands. And that would transform our country forever. Now you imagine Tanzania. You imagine East Africa. This would be heaven. So, tell Comesa friends, tell them that it's a lie. The bankers have not thought out of the box. They are lending short-term money for long-term projects. This is what I want you to dream, and I want to be and my law firm to associate with you. And Olivia, please come, let's go.
Thank you, Mr. Karuhanga, for your generous contribution. The lady in white.
My name is Dina Bina. I'm a businesswoman for the past 23 years, and I'm a member of Tanzania Women Chambers of Commerce. I'll speak on behalf of like 30 million women in Tanzania. And if I go through my mathematics very quickly, if we are 55 to 60 million, that is the population of Tanzania, and the women are about 51 to 54%. So we have about 30 million women. Take half of them to be business women, because every woman is a business woman. Now, the challenges we have, one of the challenges that surfaces all the time in our meetings, finances. Even yesterday, we had a meeting the whole day at New Africa, sponsored by TIMEA and UN Women and Trade Bank East Africa, and TWCC coordinated it. That is one of the challenges that surfaced. The other ones, we are going to hand it over to the right people. There were many. I think the banks haven't understood the women very well and how they operate. So we have to sit down and figure out how we can get out these women who most of them are in small or in agric or service industry. And the problem is when you start dazzling us with questions like collaterals and bank statements, already if I have honey which I'm getting from Mwanza to bring to Dar es Salaam, I don't have a financial statement. I don't have a collateral for that. Now, what is my suggestion? My suggestion is we have to come to terms with the situation that we have. I'm suggesting that we have a women digital hotline bank that will act very fast, because most of our businesses that we get, they need a decision right then and then, they need funds right then and then. And the questions that I'll expect from this bank is, who is your collateral? I say I'm a member of Tanzania Women Chambers of Commerce. Check my records with them. And that is at midnight. Somebody should answer that question, because I have an order that I've been given that I have to deliver in the morning. I don't have to wait for you to put on your suit and meet you at the bank. I need to listen to you on the phone. And the other guarantee, I said I have a supplier. My supplier's number is this. You can check with my supplier. This supplier is in Njombe or Mwanza. I've already ordered like 20 liters containers, like 10 of them, of honey. And who is your customer? I'll list the number of customers that I have. Check with them on phone. Quickly, you can give me a short-term, you call it short-term bridging finance or something, those difficult words, okay? That I can pay the supplier in Mwanza to put those containers on the bus in the morning. In the evening, I've already distributed them and I have put the money back. The bank statement, don't ask me for a bank statement. Just ask me for my phone number. Because all the money goes through my phone. My personal example, I'm a florist, I'm a decorator. I get an order for a wedding or from a meeting like this. And I need flowers. Some flowers I get them from Nakuru. So this person who has a wedding has paid me money on my phone. What time am I going to get to put in your bank so that I can take it out and send the money on M-Pesa to Nakuru for the lady to get flowers for me and put them on the bus? I have no time to waste. So I won't put this money in the bank. I'll just transfer it from my phone to her phone through M-Pesa, Safari Pesa, whatever. And the transaction is done. So if you want to know whether I have you call it the cash flow, the turnover is here. So somebody should go away from the normal traditional banking questions that you ask us and start asking us about our phone numbers that we have registered very well in Tanzania right now. We use the NIDA number to register. So I can't lie that this phone is mine. I think when we come to that, we'll help the SME women just take care of the advantage they have. A lady called me yesterday, she was given an order for this particular meeting, but she didn't have the packing materials, and she was crying, Dina, where do I get the packing materials? I have the order. I said, okay, what do we do? I don't have the 200,000 that you need. I think she lost the order because the bank will ask for this and that. So what I'm saying is, just put that window, that special window, use your CSR money, social corporate responsibility, and try an experiment of things that will just move very quickly. And you'll see that a group of these 15 million women, they'll move from the small to medium, and then pick them up now. Ask them for financial statements and all those things, the audited statements. I think they'll manage to do that. I rest my case.
Wow, I love how there's solutions coming from the audience and not questions. So I love it. But maybe we can just comment on it, because that was, first of all, thank you for bringing up gender to in this conversation, because it hadn't come up. We all know that women have a hard time raising capital, a much harder time than our male counterparts. So thank you for bringing it up. And maybe that's what we should also comment on. First of all, how are you financiers dealing with that gap in financing between men and women entrepreneurs? And then to her point, the solution that she just proposed, is that a type of solution that can be executed by the traditional bankers? Or is that, and that should go for Sandra, is that something traditional banking can do, or is it outside of that and there's other maybe technology partners that can do that? So the first part is how are you addressing the gender imbalance in financing? Banking, I think bankers, anybody could take this from the financing side, banking side, and then you take the, who can basically work on her solution?
So yeah, I mean, it's a good point. I think a lot of banks are beginning to look at ways to help digitize and lend microloans to this segment. Obviously, when you're doing those types of small loans, it doesn't make sense to put them through the traditional channel. But I think where we are is we just haven't had enough data to be able to come up with a fully digitized solution. Because in many cases, a lot of these loans come through, but we don't know what the money is being used for. So I think the banks or all of us in the ecosystem need to get to a point where if we're going to digitize, and we're starting to work through this, if you pick one value chain, and if you're doing cashew nuts or whatever, we can see the cashew nuts from Mwanza to Dodoma, we can see the payment coming back, and then the whole data sits there. That's what we need to do, and then you can start building a digital bank. But right now, a lot of data, some of it sits with the telco, where you borrow money short term. Some of it sits in the bank. A lot of times, people come and borrow personal loans and then take them to do business. So we just need to get a point where there's a holistic picture, because you can't build that kind of solution without seeing the entire ecosystem. But the good news is that we're all putting our minds to it and we're working on it.
I like the ending that Patrick put together. The good news is that we're all putting our mind to it. Right now, under the COMESA Business Council, I'll speak for what we're trying to do. We're trying to set up a digital payment platform for micro, small, and medium enterprises such as yours. That platform is trying to create collaborative and not competitive efforts between the mobile network operators and the banks. So the solution you've given is right up the alley of this platform. And ideally, I think the regulatory framework that is set up would be able to allow for the sharing of this information from an MNO, from your Safaricoms or your Vodacoms of this world, and sharing that information with the bank so the bank can make an informed assessment about your credit worthiness. So I think the challenge right now is moving from competition to collaboration for these two very big stakeholders who serve us as their customers and, you know, potential financial solutions providers. So there is a discussion, there's a big discussion going on that. I'm happy to say that Tanzania is one of the beneficiaries of this particular project, so is Uganda. So we will definitely, in fact, on a bilateral level, I'll come to you as a Women Chamber of Women Association to see how we can actually work together with you on that. But it's also very important to note that the digital apps that are there, they're provided by various companies like Technobrain, that can allow you to consolidate that information outside of just the general transactions that you do off your phone. And the app costs, some of these apps cost as little as $1 a month. You just pay $12, and you can actually put together your statements, your I was going to say historique, I don't know how you say it, yes. You know, your bank statements on a monthly basis, so that by the time you go to any bank, you can actually show your credit worthiness, because they'll be able to see with a lot of clarity the kind of information that they're looking for. So these solutions are there today. What we need to look at as SMEs is how to adjust to them, or to even go out of our way to get them and pay for them. They're very, very affordable. Right. So that innovative solution, thank you for bringing it on board. We'll definitely capture it. On another note, just 1 minute, I'd like you to go on, I'd like you to work with the Ministry of Gender here. There's something called the 50 Million Women Speak platform that has been launched by the African Development Bank. It's the COMESA is the secretariat that's running it, but it's incorporated 38 countries in Africa. That platform is allowing for business dialogue between women across the region. So you can discuss aspects of negotiation of prices, selling your products. You can discuss aspects of lending to each other and the like on this particular platform. It's about to be launched. It's going to be very key for the banks when they actually see you engaging at this particular level and looking at also even, you know, moving beyond Tanzania to different markets in the region, because it makes you more viable as a partner. So I'd like to encourage you to take it up. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandra, and thank you, everyone. We've run out of time. Thank you so much. For me, it's been a pleasure being among such highly accomplished individuals and with an audience like yourselves. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much, Olivia, and the panelists. They usually say that lawyers take so long when they talk, but clearly the finance team has beat us, even though there was a contribution from a lawyer that had nothing to do with it. So right now, I'm going to call my second panel because we just have to finish this today. So I'm going to call up my second panel, and if we can please try and keep time. The panel sessions are just supposed to be half an hour, so please, if we can even bring it down to 20 minutes, 25. The second panel, it is being moderated by Ms. Allen Asimwe. She is the Chief Technical Officer of Trademark East Africa. She'll be our moderator for this panel. And it's the ease of doing business, the cost of doing business. And our panelists include Engineer Charles Kateba, who is the Managing Director of Uganda Railway Corporation. Is Engineer Charles with us? Yes. Thank you. And also we have Mr. John Ulanga. He's a country director of Trademark East Africa. Mr. John Ulanga, are you with us? Okay. I was told he was with us. I think he may have stepped out. Oh yeah, he's with us. Thank you. The other panelist is Mr. Masanja Kungu Kalegesa. Kadogosa, sorry. Oh, I'm replaced with. Oh, okay. Sorry. Okay, thanks. Also, Mr. John Langa has just informed me that Mr. Masanja Kadogosa has replaced him, and Mr. Masanja is the managing director of the Tanzania Railway Corporation, Tanzania Railway Limited. Mr. Masanja, thank you. I'll call the other panelists just in case they're still here, even though I think I've been informed that they're not there. Engineer Deusdedit Kakoko, he's not. Okay. The other panelist is supposed to be Mr. James Osaka. He's also not here. And finally, Mr. Richard Kamujugo. Okay. You're welcome. So, Ms. Moderator, please, if you can keep the discussion flowing. Thank you.
Thank you so much. You're tired. I'm tired. The chapati didn't help at lunch. And I've been practicing my Tanzanian Swahili the whole day and night. And I started with habari asubuhi, and then the morning passed. And then I went to habari ya mchana, and then the afternoon passed, and now I'm told it's habari ya jioni. Habari ya jioni, dada yangu na kaka yangu. So welcome. It's a decimated panel, but I'm glad that my fellow colleagues stayed. It's a decimated audience, but I'm sure we can get good stuff out of here. So Trademark and where I represent, we've done a lot of work on the cost of doing business in the region. And I think we had our principals this morning talk about the costs. We all know the costs, right? Right? We all know the costs of doing business. Many of you who are businessmen and women have really struggled with doing business in the region. And we've struggled to see how we bring down the costs of trade, be it infrastructure costs, be it soft costs of really regulatory and coordination costs. So my panelists, I'm going to be strict with you. And yesterday we did discuss about focusing on the how, what are you doing? And I'm glad that I have people here who are really working with the core government institutions. Now, just before we started, I did a bit of research on trade in East Africa, and it's lasted centuries. Even before Vasco da Gama came, East Africa was trading with the rest of the world, especially the coastal towns. And we had people like, in the 1800s, Tipu Tipu, Mirambo, you know, the Nyamwezi, they were trading all the way to the Ganda region, so the Baganda, and they were trading all the way to Malawi, Zambia, Angola. And in the sense, East Africa was so integrated with the international world, so Southeast Asia, but it was also integrated within Africa. The trade routes were there. They suffered with death, smallpox, but they traded. They suffered with raids, with fights, but they traded. Why is it that we are not trading? And both presidents alluded to it and gave their different answers. One said we are sleepy, another one said something else. But gentlemen, welcome to the panel. You've had the problems, you've had the issues. I'm just going to ask you each to just, in 3 minutes, tell us what you're doing or your organization is doing over the next 12 months to address the costs that have been identified and addressed. I'll start with Richard Kamajugo, a former commissioner of customs in Uganda, a very experienced trade expert. He's our COO. He'll tell us about some key aspects of what Trademark is looking at and in addressing the trade environment and supporting governments around the region.
Thank you very much, moderator. The subject of this panel is to do with the cost of doing business. We talked a lot about infrastructure in the morning. We've talked about SGR, we've talked about the roads, we've talked about the lake, we've talked about all forms of infrastructure, including the border posts. What then would we need to balance and make this infrastructure more efficient? What I'm going to focus on now is more of efficiency, more of the quality of the service than the quantity, how many kilometers of roads do we have. It's possible that you could have the facilities, it's possible that you could have the road, and you have all these facilities and the rail. But I think it's very important for us also to think about the regulatory aspects of the whole trade chain. Because trade is a chain. There are so many players within there, and the goods move through different processes, through different people. So there are rules, there are regulations that govern how trade should be done. How is the level of our adherence and implementation of the agreed instruments so that then we can have harmony and we can have smooth trade as we move along? So what am I talking about here is how can we make sure that the policies, cross-border policies, are harmonized so that then it becomes easy for business. I don't leave one territory after complying with one law and I cross the border, then I need to comply with another. That's very important for us to make trade, to reduce the cost of compliance so that then the cost of trade reduces. The other question is that we're talking a lot about the railway, the SGR and how much it would cost. Their excellencies were comparing how much it will cost from Dar and how much it will cost from Mombasa. But we also know that the railway is very expensive and it's not very flexible, that once the train is on this rail, you cannot say, no, stop here, branch here and drop my goods. The train has to remain on the rail. So what kind of policies, what kind of interventions can we have to link the rail to the other forms, the other modes of transport, so that as we plan for the rail, we are also planning for the roads that will support the offtake of the cargo from the train? How are we linking the rail with the lake transport that we're talking about so that we have this kind of multimodal transport so that then the rail can link with the other modes that we have? The other and very most important point that I would like to highlight is this thing, sounds very simple, coordination between agencies. There are so many agencies along the chain. Each one has a statutory mandate. I know that the government officials had quite a bit of bashing this morning, but what is it that we can together, different agencies with different mandates, all work towards the same vision? If the vision is reducing the cost of doing business, that we make sure that whatever we do all contributes and points to the same direction. How do we exchange this information? How do we buy these special bulldozers that break the silos within our minds so that then we can have one vision, move in one direction, and exchange information without, guarding whatever we have, so that then the customer can have a single experience irrespective of the number of agencies or the kind of agencies that they deal with. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. You've talked very passionately about the soft issues. It's not always about the infrastructure. It's also about the software. And you've talked about the coordination. And I'm looking at the gentlemen here, the engineers, and wondering what platforms there are for you to talk, not just as railway people, but as railway and ports, railway and roads. What platforms are there? And so I'll turn to you, Engineer Charles, and say, what is Uganda Railway Corporation doing with its neighbors and doing even within Uganda to see that you address the challenges of coordination, of networking, of intermodal? Because we've been told about the lake transport as well, the challenges of moving goods off the rail onto boats, back onto either rail or road. So can you speak to some of those issues and what you're planning to do?
Thank you very much, Alan. First and foremost, I'd like to really appreciate the previous panel. They answered to some of the issue. One of the issues I'm going to raise, the financing panel, and I'm going to give them homework to go home with. Addressing the coordination that we have or plan to do, you will realize that transporting goods by rail is really intermodal, because we pick the cargo from Tanzania Ports Authority, move it by rail up to Mwanza. It is handled at Mwanza by Tanzania Ports Authority. They hand it over to URC or Marine Services on the ship. Wagons are loaded on the ship. That's another model. Then that mode hands over to URC at the end. So we have goods coming in by ship, to rail, to ship, and to rail again. At the end, we either deliver by rail, in which case we have sidings to certain customers, or we transfer to road. So the railway system is already a multimodal system. Now, in order to have a smooth operation, we have formed a cooperation between the 4 agencies, Tanzania Ports Authority, Tanzania Railways, Uganda Railways, and Marine Services Company Limited. But we would like to take this even further into a more robust, more binding arrangements, such as the way we receive, for example, funds. We are setting up accounts, and we've already set these accounts up with one of the financial institutions, that when you pay to Tanzania Ports Authority, you are paying 2,400 and you would like your container to arrive in Kampala, you do not have to go to Tanzania Railways, Marine Services, and Uganda Railways to pay again. But at the same time, as the money hits the account, all the 4 agencies receive their payments. And that one is already in the making. The tool is already there. 3 of the members are already active. When 1/4 member is fully active, it's all going to happen. But we are also using social media. We have a chat group for all the operating teams. So when a transaction is being done in the port, all the 4 agencies can access, and we have experimented at incorporating some of the key customers as well, so that they can track that. But we would like to also integrate our traffic operating and tracking systems, so that it's not just the social media, but the actual system that we use to track the equipment, to track the cargo, and all the other systems. We have had a challenge of infrastructure supply. I mean, rolling stock supply. By rolling stock, I mean the wagons that we use to carry the wagons, the goods. And this can be seasonal. It can also be product-based. Now, the solution to that, and this is where my colleagues from the bank, I really love you. We want to set up a pool of wagons, common pool to be used for transit traffic. In order to do this, we need to set up a dedicated SPV that will own and lease these wagons to either any of the networks. It can be TRC or URC or both. The other solution that we are looking at is being able to run through trains by one agency, running through trains, for example, Kampala to Dar es Salaam as one system. Uganda Railway train is starting in Kampala and ending in Dar es Salaam. A Tanzania Railways train is starting in Dar es Salaam and ending in Kampala, so that you have one control. That works in Europe and other countries, and I think we can also do that here. But also we need to coordinate our investments, so that when we invest in the port, we are not only investing in the port, but we are investing in equivalent offtake by the rail. And when we have invested in the equivalent offtake, we also have the right composition of wagons to take the bulk cargo, to take the containerized cargo, and any other specialized cargo. Finally, Richard talked about having one single experience. When you have 4 or 5 or 6 agencies, including the revenue authorities, then you are dealing with 5 or 4 or 6 corporate cultures. We want to go something more than that. We want to have common training so that the teams that handle through traffic, they are trained together so that they can work together, that they can communicate with each other. We have done this in the past. In the 90s, we had common training, Uganda Railways and Tanzania Railways. But now we want to expand it. We want to involve TPA. We want to involve TICS. We want to involve URA, TRA, so that we are trained together. And this will be talking, we are already talking, but we want to have a more formal conversation with Trademark East Africa and the Central Corridor so that we can facilitate the customers uniformly. That when somebody receives cargo in the port, he knows this cargo is destined to Juba, and therefore it needs to take not more than 6 days, it should be in Juba. Considering that there's a little time, I think I will stop there, but I had wanted to touch about the future.
I'll get back to you on the future. You will have 1 minute to close, but thank you so much, Charles. I think it's heartwarming, isn't it, that they're starting to talk, and they're talking deeply, including on social media, and that the agencies are really looking at how they can make the experience both seamless, but also learning, for instance, from the Commissioner Generals who have been meeting of the revenue authorities. If you take that now into transport infrastructure, I think we're going to see a difference on our rails, even as the infrastructure remains the same. But that said, today we had a very exciting vision of $1,600 a container. I mean, that's like a dream, you know? And it sounds unbelievable, but it's the reality that if the SGR, God willing, Allah willing, we get this money, we'll be paying $1,600, not in the distant future. Now, Mr. Masanja from Tanzania Railway Limited Corporation. Sorry, we are still using the old names even on the documents. You've been behind some of the reforms of TPC in the last couple of years or few months in terms of seeing how do you move the agenda forward, how do you try to attract Ugandan business to use the Central Corridor. Can you speak more to the issues of how you're even going to be more competitive, even as funds are sought to extend the railway to the SGR to Mwanza? What is it that you have in stock for the Ugandan business people to start using rail and increase volumes, not just to the small tonnage that we had today, but even for exports to start using this route? I actually learned something. In the 70s and 80s, all Uganda's coffee exports used to go through Dar es Salaam, all of it, and then it stopped. It's now all going through Mombasa. So what plans do you have to get Ugandan businesses really excited about using the Central Corridor to move their goods?
Okay, thank you, Aaron. Basically, if you're talking about railway industry, you have to go back, the challenge you're facing now, basically it goes back maybe 20 years ago. So basically what we are doing now is you're addressing the challenges, what happened 15, 20 years ago. Now we feel the impact, neglecting the railway. And it goes back historically. Most of the railway in Africa were constructed back in 100 years ago with less maintenance. So this railway, real sense, they're very old. That brings to, low speed, low turnaround of wagons, but also it goes to lack of safety. So all these are costs. And if we want to address this cost, we have to address this challenge we are facing. Now, for Tanzania, You know, 3 years ago, we started that marathon, and we thank our colleagues, you know, in Uganda Railway, also the TPA, Marine Service. We have this collaboration, you know, the 3-4 institutions to make sure that things are working. And we started by opening the Central Corridor, you know. For almost 10 years, it wasn't there. So we have to coordinate ourselves to reopen it. Now, as a government, I know my president, you know, in his speech, he touched some few things which we are doing now to address or to bring back that business. We have a project called Triple. That's a World Bank project. It costs around $3 million. And the essence of this project is to revive the railway, the track itself, you know, so that you can improve our speed, we can improve our turnaround, also we can improve our safety. So, but also we want to address the question of capacity. You know, most of our bridge, they don't have capacity to be able to carry a little bit heavy cargo. That's why, that means for the business are forced now to, you know, for one wagon can only carry maximum 40 tonnage. But if you look on containerized cargo now, 20 foot, it can goes up to 28 tons. So two containers, you're talking about 56 ton. Our bridge cannot be able to handle that. And that is costful to the business people. You know, then you need to break up your container in two instead of having one container. That's a cost. Now we are addressing for this project we are doing. One container can go up to 60, 70 tons, you know, for one container. But also, the other bottleneck we are facing, the speed turnaround. You see, the railway can afford, let me start by this way. The advantage of rail is too, the economy of scale, we are able to carry a lot of cargoes at once, but at the same time distance. Our margin is very little. We don't make money out of margin. We make money out of turnaround. So if we improve our speed, we are able, say we are able to go 2-3 times in Mwanza. That's where we make money. Now, if we don't make money, that causes to go to someone else. It's unfortunate to the final consumer. So we are trying to address this, and I'm very sure by next year, June, they will see a lot of changes coming. And now we are taking around 3 to 4 days to get to, you know, to Mwanza, and then another 16 hours to get to Port Bell. But after this rehabilitation, we'll be able to take around 24 hours to 30 hours to Mwanza, then another 16 hours, so you're talking around 46 hours to Port Bell. That will cut costs. Because some of the costs we are talking about transit cost, you know, the cost involved in drain. If you take 7 days to get to Mwanza, then another 2 days to get to Kampala, that is cost by itself. The turnaround to the business, you know, the guys who are in business, they want to turn around. So we are trying to address the things which really are making more costful for the Central Corridor to do business. Now, this is what we are having now. We are talking about the meter gauge. But I could say from my experience, when you are talking about addressing the cost of doing business in East Africa, it starts from the way we design our railway. You know, because if you have expensive construction, it's obvious that the cost of running becomes a little bit difficult for you to be able to price to the final consumer. So one of the things we did actually we in Tanzania, when it comes to the standard gauge, that's how we can afford it to, you know, to price around 1,600. Is the first thing is we are designing a railway which can carry a lot of, you know, cargo at once. Remember, the economy of the railway is the economy of scale. You know, we can be able to carry more. That you can be able to price a little bit less. But also, in terms of energy we're using. Now, for Tanzania, we have chosen to use electricity. You know, our line will be electrified. What does it really mean? Electrified line is much more cheaper, 3 times, than using diesel. That will be, that's the magic behind to be able to price a little bit lower price. You know, we can be able to price at 1,600 from here to Mwanza. And we are looking forward, for the time being, maybe just to, it's not part of our presentation, but for the time being now we are around 62% from Dar es Salaam to Morogoro, but now we are pushing to Tabora. From Morogoro to Dodoma, we are around 15%, but I'm very sure in the next 2 years we'll be able to be in Dodoma, but then we are planning to get to Mwanza, we are planning to get to Kigoma. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Masanja. I'm not hearing the business people clap. I think you're so tired. But I mean, it's really encouraging what these gentlemen are saying they're working on, or their institutions are working on, to address the core challenges that businesses have been facing. But we are still talking big business, and I'll turn to the audience after I've spoken to, I asked Mr. Makoko to speak, to just get one comment from the women in business, because often their packages are smaller, they are not using the formal, the rail system unless they really do the collective, action. But Mr. Kakoko, sorry, and your name today caused a lot of excitement in the room. And for once, we had a government official really being praised for the work you've done at the port in terms of enhancing efficiencies, in terms of addressing big issues and big crime that have really affected Tanzania port for a while. And so congratulations to you on that, that recognition. Again, the question to you, going forward in the next 12 months, what is it that you're looking at doing? I know you're part of this group that is now meeting and discussing how to make a seamless experience along the corridor. What is it that you as the ports are looking at? I spoke to businessmen yesterday, they should have been represented here, and they're still facing challenges in terms of really exporting. You know, our routes are mostly for import, but now export becomes such a challenge, getting goods out, but also increasing efficiencies. You could just speak to some of the reforms you're planning to implement.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Alain. Thank you for the commendation that you just gave, but he started a little bit bad. If you heard him, he started from the background, and I thought I was to be fired before it turned into a better, a better wind. First of all, let me say, if I was a Ugandan trader, a business person, why should I be here in this hall today? What should I be expecting? I know the question I have posed is what we are supposed to be looking at in the near future, and that would be like 4 months to half a year to come. But I think it's a little bit better to say what I've been doing. I know it has been touched, but quickly, we have been part of this, and the reason is whatever you talk about the total chain, the value chain, the logistic chain, you will always touch ports as nodes, as starting or ending points. They are the source and the destinations. So whoever does work on that part of logistics, maritime, port operations, transport, has to do with the ports. So we are very sensitive on that. That's why we came to be a part of it. And I would like to commend the good job that our principals have been doing. If I don't forget, it was around October, November, when the same two presidents met in Mutukula, traveled all the way to Masaka, and they, in fact, gave instructions that we should be able to open this route again, the Central Corridor. By then, we all remember what was happening with Araviara and the rest. So the first thing that we're going to do comes from what you have done, to make sure that the route is opened. And I remember working on it, meeting one elder minister who said in a Ugandan proverb, I think it is not, it don't be gender sensitive, it is not discriminating. He said, a man traditional in Uganda, probably Baganda or whoever is that, should, when making his house, make sure you have 2 outlets. You don't depend on 1 outlet. And he said this, according to Uganda, southern route or the central corridor must be opened because we need both routes. We need the central corridor. We all know what happens when the northern corridor from Mombasa to Kampala is not functional. So from there, I understood why it is important. It's not only about business, it is about survival, and very important to add value to the business of the people in Uganda. It is from there that we managed, and this is also important for the future, to meet the Kasita traders in Kampala. In their numbers, SMEs, but very important. So we need these 2 roads. What we have done and what we'll continue to do, first of all, ports being areas where you have a lot of stakeholders. In that port alone, we have 34 public institutions that are working there. You can imagine 34 public institutions. That is a country in itself. And these are managed by 7 different ministries. So it is so huge, and the coordination, as the first speaker said, becomes very, very important. In fact, you may find that somebody's container is already on the way to the destination, but he's or she is at the port looking for it. So information is that very important. It is really a challenge. So the first thing we did, and that we will continue to work on and to improve, is to make sure coordination is given the weight it deserves. And for this matter, we have done, first of all, to have a single window system. The system is made of 3 parts. One is we have a physical single window, which is the location. We have that TPA office, which is the tallest in Central and East Africa, where we need everybody to be there. And by the way, the Ugandan URA are supposed to be hosted if they are not already there. And we have everybody from EAC working there. And it includes also private. We have 5 associations, private sector. Transporters, we have 2 associations. We have shipping agents. We have clearing and forwarding agents. We have those with ICDs. They will all be there. Secondly, because of time, we need a forum where we should be meeting. We have what we call Port Improvement Community or Committee, which is meeting every week and every month. This is at present at operational level at the port, where the private sector, the public, everybody is meeting there. We want to raise this to the CEO's level. This will be executive level and the steering level of the ministry, so that if there is a policy problem, it is resolved. If it is a decision-making problem, it is resolved by the CEOs. And all operations issues are resolved weekly. So this is what is on the second level. Third level is on the soft part, and I think that is where you wanted us to concentrate. We are developing a very robust single window system, which will involve everybody and each and every customer. So even 5,000 people can access, the customers, the public, so that you can track where your container is, you can do whatever you want to do. And we know that documentation is always a problem. That's where we start to get problems, when we do documentation. So they are all there. At the moment, the first phase is already on a user acceptance test. The other thing we have done, especially to assist in Uganda, we have an office, an agency in Kampala, and in fact very close to Portobello, the office. And it is important because the first thing we did was to make sure we are visible, because for a whole decade, the route between Portobello and Kampala was closed. I think more than 12 years after Kabarega was gone, then 2 years later, now it is back. So we needed somebody in Kampala who can access. And with the systems that we are going to develop, the automation, we need to train our customers there so that everybody can work from there. We heard from the women business there, that we should be working from our phones directly. And this is what we want to do. The bookings, the trackings, the payments, everything should be done on phone. And they should be in a span of, by end of next year, they should be done. But we also
Engineer,
have...
I need to cut you off because we are running out of
It's
time.
too
So
much,
one
eh?
last point.
Okay, quickly, we have done this, and from the ports that we have, we are to develop all the inland ports, including the Jinja, Bokassa, not only the Port Bell, develop more of Mwanza, so that by the end, we are going to have a lot of facilities that will help us. It is very important for the future. So briefly, because of time, this is what we have, but we have worked on cost reduction, concessions. We have increased, when you don't have time or money, from the normal grace period of 15 days for the container to 30 days, so you can have your time. Although we don't want a lot of containers stored in the port, but when it is necessary, you can use this. So at the moment, I dwell on that.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, gentlemen. We only had 20 minutes, but I think they have really done a good job in trying to show how they are moving to address some of the challenges. We don't have enough time, but we should have addressed issues around women really interacting with the system and youth. How do you get the cost down for those who are really not able to meet the cost of big business, but also secondly to challenge our organizations, not to just think of business between Uganda and Tanzania, but how together you can work to access other opportunities around Africa and the world, tying us again into what we had before in the 1800s, integrated into Europe, into Asia, into the rest of Africa. We've run out of time. I could take one question and okay, we can have URC on women, since he's talking about women.
I was inspired by the lady, women in business leader, and we have been saying we want to give you an offer for border trade between Port Bell and Mwanza. If you can give us an organized team, we are ready to give you 2 wagons to be coming with the ship, and they will be stationed at Mwanza for loading to Port Bell and back. So it's open for both women in Uganda and women in Tanzania, but you need to be organized around the trade ministry so that we don't fall into problems. But we are willing to give 2 wagons to take parcels for women to trade in Port Bell and Mwanza.
Thank you very much. What a wonderful place to end. I'll just take one persistent question and then we'll close. Yeah. 1 or 2. You can raise your questions and comments and they will respond to them maybe later, but we have honestly run out of time.
Hello. Good evening. I'm David, an expert in regional integration. I don't have a question, but I have to put some input in your conversation. First thing, thank you for a nice presentation. The second thing, the first thing on my side of contribution, both of you, TRIA, TIC, you should maintain competitiveness and maintain standards in your operations. The second thing, you must establish a strong feedback mechanism from your clients and customers who are accessing your systems and your services, because if you don't have a feedback mechanism, it will create a challenge to customers who are depending on your services.
Thank you. Very powerful on the feedback. I think I'll pass on to the next person. He also had one comment, and then you can always catch them on the side. Yes, please.
Thank you, madam. My name's
1 minute, 30 seconds.
I'm William Sabakidima, representing traders, that is Kasita. Mine would like to go to the railway service, and I would like to take the concerns of Mr. Kamajugo. Regardless of the flight to come down, still as a business community, we were not interested to use the railways because of the services. What they are doing is not from point A to Z. And this is in connectivity with road transport linkage. We suffer from their services because they take our container boxes to Uganda, then bring them back to the ports. They don't go directly to the empty depot of the shipping line. This is making the business community lose in terms of container deposits with the shipping line. I don't know whether, my brother, now you are putting up something that is going to bring the spirits back to give you business, or you are also going to deal with your consignment note because you are telling us we use railway service at our own risk. That is threatening us to give you business. We need to remove that one. It has been there. And then if I give the business to the road transport, he's picking the box, taking it to the go down to the business community premise, and then they bring it back to the empty depot within the time agreed. But with the railways, there is no any liability you want to take about in terms of storages that you dare to bring back the box. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I think Charles, Charles, you'll respond to that question because it's a pertinent question, but you'll respond to it. Is it his? 30 seconds and we close. Thank you.
Okay, let me acknowledge first, that's a challenge you're facing. And as I said before, the current challenge you're facing as a railway is a turnaround. And we are trying to address that one. But also, as said, you know, we don't provide end-to-end service. Obvious, part of a strategy, obvious, we have to involve the load service, you know. We cannot go away from the truck. That's, we are talking about intermodal. So in the future, as we agree with the Uganda Railway, obvious, like we are doing now with World Food Program, we take the cargo from Dar es Salaam port all the way to Port Bell, then from Port Bell to Kampala, then from Kampala we take by road to Southern Sudan. So we will see some changes coming. Yes.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Thank you, Richard. Thank you, Masanja. Thank you, Charles, and thank you, Deusdedit. And thank you to our audience. You've been very patient. Thank you. Lala Salama, what do you say?
No, please.
Tutaonana baadaye.
Much better. Much better. A round of applause for Alan and the panel. Well done. Okay, Charles, I need to, you have an offer you gave some people, and the lady wants a business card, so please give her your contacts. She will follow up on that offer, Charles. Yeah, all right. That's the action that our team was asking for in the morning. We don't like this talk, you know, that ends here, and then we are back to the same thing. So I want to request the last one. They're the last people. We've given them 20 minutes. They say they'll even use less. I'm not so sure how. But allow me to invite our moderator for the next panel, Ernest Rubondo. Ernest is the Executive Director, Petroleum Authority of Uganda. As Ernest comes, I want to invite Honorable Dr. Eli Karuhanga, who's the Chair, Uganda Chamber of Mines and Petroleum. Eli, please come. And also invite Salvatore Tomola, the Geoscientific and Investment Advisor. I also now want to invite Engineer Patrick Mutenga Batumbia, who is the Managing Director, MBW Consulting Limited. And finally, I don't know if Esther Mbaga is here. Esther? Okay, you're representing Esther. Thank you, please come so Ernest can see you. So this is it. This is our team. Initially, we should have also had Dr. James Mataragio, but he's rushed off to another assignment. So we apologize for that. All right, so this is the last team. Let's really dig in. The moment Ernest is done, myself and Margaret will just come to wrap up our forum this evening. Ernest.
Thank you very much, MC.
We have to be very grateful to the people who are in the audience here. I have no doubt that if you are looking for patient people, you don't have to look anywhere else. We are aware that we were between you and all the things that happened on Friday evening, so we'll try our best to speed up. Ladies and gentlemen, as you are aware, this panel is about local content. And just a few words on what this is all about. Local content is the use of a project or an activity to create value in an economy where this activity is being undertaken. This value is created through employment, it's created through the use of goods and materials, and is created through the provision of services. Local content is relevant to all sectors of an economy, and this is demonstrated by the Bubu Act in Uganda and the frameworks that Tanzania is putting in place. But this session is going to concentrate on local content in the extractives. Extractives mean mining and petroleum. The reason for focusing on extractive sector is because of the unique combination of the following three factors. The first one is extractives have very high value investments which provide an opportunity for a large impact on the economy. If we take an example of Mozambique now, they are having investments of over $60 billion investment. The GDP of Mozambique is $15 billion. You can imagine how high value these projects are and what that should mean to the Mozambican economy. The second factor that is important is that these activities in the extractives are very high technology and very high standards. Therefore, they provide important opportunities for technology transfer and improvement of standards in the economy. The third one is that these extractives are non-renewable in nature, which means that the benefits from this sector are only available during the window of opportunity. If you don't take advantage of them at that time, they are gone. I know some countries in the world where their mines and oil fields were depleted before the countries put in place institutions and laws to manage extractives. So you can be sure that the window of opportunity passed for those countries. Those are the three characteristics of extractives that make it important for local content. High value, high technology, window of opportunity. Now, it is also important to remember that the benefits of local content are additional to the main objective of the project. If it is a mining project, the objective is to get value from the mineral, sell it and get value, or process it and get value. That is the objective of the project. But local content is additional to that value. That is the introduction I would like to give. I therefore would like to invite the panelists to share their specific aspects as I'll be requesting them on this subject. And there is no time to introduce them. I'll just say what they do as I invite them. And then at the end, hopefully we'll have an opportunity for one or two questions. Organization for us to achieve this local content is very important. I said training, provision of goods and services are the important aspects and transfer of technology. I would like to first invite Honorable Eli Karuhanga, who is currently the chairman of the Uganda Chamber of Mines and Petroleum. This is an association that brings together people who provide goods and services to extractives. I would like to ask him to share with the audience how they have organized themselves and what they do in order to enable these countries achieve local content, which is the additional benefit to the country and a benefit that must be achieved in a very specific time. Honorable Karuhanga.
Thank you, Ernest. Thank you, Mr. Bondo, our chairperson. I am the founder chairman of the Uganda Chamber of Mines and Petroleum. It's now about 10 years. We formed this association in order to bring awareness to the people of Uganda who are in business to appreciate the God or Mother Nature's given resource of oil and gas and mining, all the things underground, which are plenty. 50 different types of minerals, oil in large quantities and gas, and we wanted them to not to get scared, not to fear. Because there is a fear, what can I do about that? So we wanted to drum up. And we also wanted to make sure that people who are coming to invest in Uganda, in these areas, also don't get scared about our country. Because there was fear of Uganda has never found oil, what do Ugandans look like? And then these guys, when they come, they are thrown into the deep end. So we wanted to make them have a soft landing. So we put them together and we formed the Chamber of Mines and Petroleum. And they enthusiastically, at first our meetings were attended only by foreigners, white people. The whole room would be white people and the scattering of 1 or 2 Ugandans. Now, it is the other way around. I'm very pleased to say that. So in fact, we now come to almost 1,000. The other day, Mr. Bondo's organization, Petroleum Authority of Uganda, had a conference, and there were about 1,000 Ugandans, which we participated with them. And so we have seen this surge of interest. That's why this conference has been well attended by Ugandan companies, because when the chamber called them, not only did they sponsor, but they also came. So when the president set up the Presidential Investors Roundtable, he had to call the members of the chamber, and we take leadership in advising the government on some of those issues. We collaborate largely with government institutions like Petroleum Authority, National Oil Company, Ministry of Energy, Ministry of Finance, Parliament. We are always there speaking on behalf of the industry. And we are members of the Private Sector Foundation. In fact, I'm a director on the Private Sector Foundation representing that sector. So there is quite a lot of collaboration between us and government. And that's why Ambassador Richard Kabonero, when he was setting up this conference, he made sure that he invites us because he knew that, because he has attended, and almost all our meetings, the president attends and opens them, and normally comes with a visiting head of state. It's now a household name and a very successful business. So Ambassador Kabonero was able to get to us, and I want us to put our hands together and clap for him for putting this thing. Because we've been arguing with Ernest, please get us to meet the Tanzanian brothers and sisters. So for us here, this is an emotional moment, very emotional moment for us. Because these things can't happen, a pipeline can't come all the way, as President Magufuli was saying, and we don't know the business people who are going to work with us in collaboration with us. So we are looking for you. We found the oil, it's passing through your country, we are looking for you. We must partner with you. So we are looking for partners. We want this collaboration to start. And so we have maximized local content since we started. As you realize, oil took long and is now taking even longer. I'm very disappointed, very, very disappointed about the current events of last week and this week. I'm actually devastated. But it has taken long, and it has given us time to prepare ourselves. The day the key finally opens and the door opens, we will be ready because we have put money in skilling, in systems, in processes. We have borrowed money from banks. We have trained our people. We have skilled our people. They are all ready, but they are not having any work. In fact, those who go to work are now being laid off by Total day before yesterday and Sinok day before yesterday. So we are in a kind of a start and go. It's like a car which you have invented. You start it, it starts, then it stops. We are in that type of situation. So we call upon people, and we join President Magufuli, not in sacking our people, but in making sure that a decision is made, meetings take place, meetings conclude. We've got syndicated insurance companies. The first time ever, we put insurance companies together, and they have been able to raise close to $400 million in order to insure our businesses. Ugandan insurance companies have come together. Tell me how many minutes I'm left with, otherwise I'm going to go on. 1 minute. So we are worried about procrastination in decision making. We are worried about delays in decision making. We want to argue people who are in this business, please, please hear our cry. We've borrowed money, we can't pay. The banks are on our neck. People have become bankrupt first time. Now we are in the second round of bankruptcy. It's not acceptable. Now we want to thank our complementary relationship with PAO, with the CNOC, with government, and with the UNOC, and with the Directorate of Mining. We have a conference, I'm now using my last second. We have a conference on the 2nd and 3rd of October. It's called the Mineral Wealth Conference. It will take place in Kampala. It will be blessed by the President. Please come and attend, because Tanzania is way ahead of us in mining. And we want to learn from your success story. We know what you've gone through. We know you have also had your stops and goes. We know you have also canceled some agreements in the past with Acacia and all that stuff. We want to learn so that we don't fall in those ditches that you experienced. So we are looking forward to you coming to Uganda in a big way. We want you to stand up in the middle of a conference like this and say, these are our Tanzanian collaborators, business partners. This is when you come to Kampala, where you haven't been. I know many of you don't see any reason to go to Kampala unless you are in government and you go to attend a government conference. But now we have reason to start business. We have reason to be your partners, and we are looking for you. Please come and also be part of the ownership of government, of businesses in Uganda. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Eli, for a very passionate representation of the private sector, the people who would actually achieve the national content. The government of Tanzania has put the aspect of Economic Empowerment Council in the office of the Prime Minister. Esther Mbaga was supposed to be with us, but she's not here. But Edward Kese is here to represent them. Since this session is about local content for the extractives, I would like to ask Edward Kese to share with the audience the efforts the Office of National Economic Empowerment Council in the Office of the Prime Minister of Tanzania is making to enable Tanzania's entrepreneurs tap into these opportunities on the projects in the extractive sector. Edward, you have the floor.
Thank you. Good evening. I understand that time has moved so fast. Yeah, thank you, moderators. You say that the National Economic Empowerment Council is the office and the Prime Minister's office, and our key mandate is to coordinate and facilitate the economic empowerment process across the country. We are looking on the three aspects: that to increase the participation of Tanzanians to participate in the economy, but also the issue of ownership and management. This is historical, and we all know that we came from the socialist era kind of economy. So after the open up of the economy, we found out that the participation of Tanzania is very low. At the same time, management and ownership of the economy is also very low. So this is the genesis of having the National Economic Empowerment Council, which was established because of, as a result of the act and the policy of the 2004. So local content is one of the very key vehicle in terms of the economic empowerment process in this country. And the National Economic Empowerment Council, we are very happy to be the coordinator of the economic empowerment and the local content across the country. So we are coordinating the local content issues of all the sectors across the economy, and the extractive sector being one of them. So far, we have the guidelines about the local content across the sectors. But also we have the coordination mechanism whereby we are working very closely with the ministry, department agents, as well as the regional and local government authorities. So we have the clear coordinators of the local content in most of the ministries, 19 in number, key institutions which also handle some strategic projects, which I'll share also later on, but also in the region and local government whereby we have the majority of Tanzanians. So you can see that the local content is well coordinated under the leadership of the National Economic Empowerment Council. Extractive sector is one of the key sectors you said earlier with the very high value impact, but you also involve a lot of high technological aspect. And also we know it's a non-renewable. So to us, we think that extractive sector as one of the big components of the natural resource we have in this country, we mean that if we want to move this country forward, we should use the natural resource for transformation and not for development. So we are looking at a big picture, and as a coordinator of the local content issues, what we have put in place in how to support our people, first and foremost, we have done a lot of reforms in terms of the laws, regulations, and some of the guidelines. And 8 laws in number we have reformed, as you heard from the President in the morning, that our commitment and the appetite to make some reforms in terms of the laws so that we can empower people through local content, it has been very massive. For the last 3 years, hardly 3 years, 8 laws has been amended and some new laws also has been enacted to support this extractive sector. So one of the good stories in that reform, we have some preferential arrangement whereby in the extractive sector, services like legal services, these are for locals, these are for the Tanzanians. Services like the banking services in the extractive sectors is for the Tanzanians. So these are the kind of the roadmap and the clear statement which the government has decided to see how we can empower our people. But also we have services like insurance. This is the area also has been handled to be handled by the local people of Tanzania. So you can see the kind of commitment and the political will to see how the people can be also empowered to benefit more on this kind of the ongoing activity in the extractive sector. But also, we have made a lot of amendment in our mining. You shared, my first speaker shared a lot. And we think in the region recently we have one of the best in terms of whereby we have the mining local content regulations. This is specific for the mining sector. But also we have the local content regulation for the oil and gas. So you can see the kind of steps we are taking to see how that we can support our people. But one thing also about our SMEs, as we are talking, in this economy, SME is the lifeline of this economy. We have almost 4 million small and medium enterprises across the country. With a 50 million population, you have the business of almost 4 million. So you can see it's a huge base, and if well supported, the ecosystem can bring a lot of impact across the economy. So what we have done also is to create more awareness in terms of the opportunities available in the extractive sector. As you know, we have the ECO project, whereby we are linking the pipeline from Hoima to Tanga. But also we have the LNG plant in the southern part of Tanzania, whereby we have discovered gas of almost 50 trillion cubic feet. This is one of it's a big amount, because our competitor in Msumbiji, they have less than that. So what we have put in place is how can we address the issue of capacity limitation to our SMEs in order to be competitive so that they can exploit the opportunities across the extractive sector. So under the regulator, Energy and Water Regulatory Authority, EWURA, we have established a database where the suppliers of different services can register themselves so that they can be identified, but also can be linked to the opportunities which are available in that sector. But also to come in place, also we're expecting to have an enterprise development center which will address key capacity limitation in terms of accreditation, but also on how to make our SMEs more competitive so that they can participate more easily in these opportunities. Thank you.
Thank you, Edward, for those aspects that the government is putting in place. I would now like to ask a private sector person who is experiencing the efforts that the government has put in place in Tanzania to share with the audience how these efforts are enabling them, or what challenges they remain with. Initially, we had 2 people who were going to respond to this. One was going to respond on the oil and gas sector, but due to the delay in time, he has had to leave, Dr. Mataragio. But we have Mr. Salvatore Tomola, who is a geoscientific and investment advisor, and is going to share with the audience how the mining sector is receiving the efforts that the Office of the Prime Minister has just described. Mr. Tomola.
Thank you, moderator. For the sake of time, I am going to talk about the win-win situation and the good story to tell, the success stories. And then I'll talk about the challenges that the mining sector has. Recently, there has been some legislation put into place where it obligates people who have got mining licenses to add value to their minerals. So it's no longer allowed to export unprocessed minerals. Because of that, we have seen a drastic rise in the exports of minerals from the country. Everybody has now started doing the value addition here, cutting and polishing of minerals. The second thing is the government has started a process of markets in various areas in Tanzania, whereby the small-scale miner has got a place to go and buy and sell his minerals without being sent for a ride. He gets a legal a process which is transparent. The stones or whatever he has are valued, and he gets money legally. And in that way, government is also getting some revenue. So these markets are now growing. There are about 5 regions which have got those markets. It's a very good thing. Number 3 is a lot of Tanzanians have now graduated from artisanal miners to medium scale. And some of them have got mines of their own. So the local content is actually being enforced right now. The 4th item is Tanzanians are now supplying goods and services in the mines. The 5th item is there is a gold refinery in Dodoma, which will start refining our gold in Tanzania. So those are the good stories to tell. What are the challenges? The first challenge is the technology. The technology used by these miners is such that there is a lot of minerals left in the ground. The technology they are using, they are not extracting everything. So that's one of the challenges. We need support to get the proper technology to extract all the minerals. The second one is, this one is issues of funding. The small-scale miners, it's the same story we were talking with the bankers here, that because they're not organized, they cannot raise funds, therefore they can't raise capital, therefore they remain poor. The usual cyclic route. So this is one of the biggest challenges the small-scale miners are having. The third item is lack of skills. Most artisanal miners, when they hear of a gold rush, he goes with his spade and off he goes, over there. And some of them do not even use safe methods of extraction, and this is one of the challenges we have. The 4th item is infrastructure. When God gives you a resource, He doesn't give you a road. most of these resources are located in very, very remote areas. So our miners have got lots of challenges to bring the mines and the minerals to the market. So those are the challenges they're having. Because we are short of time, I'm sorry, moderator, I have to go quickly like that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Salvatore, for raising those things. I'm sure Edward here at the National Economic Empowerment Council, their role is to put in place aspects that address the challenges of the sector. I would now like to invite Engineer Patrick Batumbia, who is a service provider in the oil and gas sector and mining, I hope, if you're in mining. The interest of Engineer Batumbia is that he is one of those people who are supplying engineering services The value of each of those varies, but there is no doubt that the aspects of engineering are the ones that the local people have not yet entered fully. So I'd like Engineer Patrick Batumbia to share with the audience, one, his experience of being a service provider. He's not a miner, he's not an oil and gas service person, but he's just a service provider, and a provider of a service that is high value, the type of service I would like to attract. So Engineer Patrick, could you please share with the audience your story?
Thank you very much. Mr. Chairman, let me try to see if I can match Salvatore here, my neighbor, who was brief and to the point. It is true that when you are in the right place at the right time and you're able to grab the opportunity, you do what I'm going to tell you. In the sector of oil and gas in Uganda, which pretty much started in 2007, or at least that's when I got involved, it was very easy to miss the ball because we didn't know what was going on until somebody introduced me to tallow. A friend of mine was a contractor, said, why don't we go to tallow and look for opportunities? They've started prospecting for oil. And so we went one morning, and lo and behold, I think by a stroke of good luck, I'm a saved man, so I think the gods were with me. I was interviewed. You are a local consultancy? Yes. Where is your farm? I told them. And then they did due diligence. And what I knew was I was invited to go with a seismic group thrown down at the deep end of the swimming pool to start giving support in terms of crossing streams, in terms of designing pads, first of all, roads leading to pads. And we had to do survey in national parks. And you have animals around you, and you have to do this. But this was like you had to run before you learned to walk. This is where we've come from. An opportunity arising, and the private sector knowing that is an opportunity and us grabbing. Now, we run an organization called the Uganda Association of Consulting Engineers. So I was able to share with my colleagues at a luncheon about the prospects in the oil and gas. And I must salute the government of Uganda. They've been supportive because the moment they knew that the engineers were in earnest, and this group came in fully to support us, and they pronounced, we have to have Ugandans and we have to see their face doing this work. So we've been doing this work since 2007. I was involved in the first exploratory hole. It was in Ngasa 1. It didn't succeed. We hit across a fault where we lost quite a lot, the investor lost quite a lot of equipment. But the following pads were very successful. And then we went on and built, rehabilitated an airstrip. And then we joined Sinok, which came on as a second exploratory group. And we also joined Total. So in total, we've been responsible for almost 90% of the drill pads in the exploratory stage as MBW Consulting. We have been helped in this by two other firms, Kaga and Partners. Some of you might know it. Kaga and Partners are it's a big company, a local company. And also recently, ICS. Now, the start wasn't bad, and we got a payback. As a result, MBW was able to buy and now owns its own office out of the proceeds. It pays you back when you are consistent because there's a lot of demand for quality in the services and timeliness. You have to produce and produce in time. The prospects are very, very high now, as Ernest was telling us, Mr. Chairman, because we are now in the downstream. And I'm inviting fellow Tanzanian engineers here to come and we join together in the spirit of the Tanzania-Uganda cooperation for us to take advantage. The East African crude oil pipeline, there's a lot that we can do, which has been identified on the Uganda end. And I'm sure your end as well, because you have even the lion's share. So if you invite us, and this is now a small advert, we are ready. We're ready to do business. We're ready to invite you as we should be ready to invite us. The challenges, Mr. Chairman, members, is that this is a perishable. And we've got to know, and we've got to make the best out of it while it lasts. And what do I mean? The training and the skills that we get from working on oil and gas are applicable to other aspects of life, especially in design, in bridges, in roads, infrastructure, all of it, because everything else comes to work towards the oil, the benefits of oil. We are, for example, responsible as MBW. We have a local content input for the airport, which is a 304 million euro project. And we have been appointed as a local content group, and we are happy for government. Thank you very much, government of Uganda, for seeing that a Ugandan company is involved at the design and supervision level, very high level. And then the contractors are now being challenged by Ernest to make sure that they also involve Ugandans. Because if they construct without Ugandans involved, how do we know? Well, we will know, we as engineers, but the contractors will not have had the local ones need to take home that skill. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. That is a spectrum of participants in local content. I think it's fair that we use the remaining minutes to get some comments or questions from the floor before we ask them to wind up. Are there any comments or questions that you would like to give to the panelists? I see one hand there. Yes, please. Please find a microphone and make your comment. Say your name, your institution, and then the comment.
Chairman, nikushukuru sana. Mimi naomba niongee Kiswahili.
Sawa.
Kwa jina naitwa Chief Alan Luka Mwaigaga kutoka Mbeya vijijini. Nimefika jana. Nimshukuru sana kaka yangu upande wa kwanza. Amesema mambo mazuri sana. Nitakuwa mchoyo bila kuwashukuru marais wetu wote wawili. Mheshimiwa sana John Pombe Joseph Magufuli. Nimshukuru sana baba yangu Yoweri Museveni. Nimshukuru mama yangu amekaa aliotoka kwenye Business Council ya Uganda. Amesema machungu hapo nje kila mtu alikuwa anamangania pale nje akipicha. Kwa faida yako nilipokuwa kule nje. Niseme kwa kifupi sana hivi. Kuna mambo matatu ambayo yamesemwa na kaka yangu pale mbele. Tuna mtaji wanafunzi tumesomesha. Makelele baba yetu wa taifa, yule baba alisoma Makelele kutoka Uganda. Kwa nyinyi wana Uganda ni kwenu kama walivyosema rais. Lakini tuna mtaji wa vijana hawana ajira. Amesema ndugu yetu mmoja hapo chini wakati anachangia nyuma, ni kwa nje nakuja kwenye pointi. Kwanza tujitambue. La pili tubadilike. La tatu tuache mazoea. Mazoea yametuumiza sana. Watumishi wa nchi zote kwa mfano Uganda na Tanzania wana familia moja. Yapasa wajitambue mwenyekiti. Niseme mimi umri sio mkubwa sana kama nyinyi mliopo hapo. Kule ndani mnakula starehe na mama. Alafu usiku mnasema tufanye rewind, jambazi yuko pale. Sijui mfanye rewind au muende mkazuie jambazi. Saa hizi vita ya silaha haipo. Iko vita ya uchumi. Na yuko mtu huko duniani Trump naye anapumulia mashini. Sitaki umtaje hapa. Kwa hiyo sisi tuamke. Ndivyo nyinyi sasa hawa vijana wetu tunawalisisha nini? Kwa sababu ni vijana wamemaliza, wamesoma vizuri. Wamesoma ndugu zangu wa Uganda kina mkono kule vyuo viko pale. Wamesoma Waganda, wamesoma wa Tanzania. Sasa tutaweka wapi hawa watoto wetu? Ndugu zangu na mimi nawaombe sana. Tutumie mkutano waliokutanisha hapa. Kama alivyosema kaka yangu huyu wa mwisho kwamba tuwe wamoja, tukumtanishe mikono ya pamoja, ndivyo tuuchukie umaskini. Hapa tulipo tuko na shida ya ajira ya vijana wetu. Hawako na ajira. Tunaweza kopeshwa na mabenki, tutalipa na nini kama alivyosema kaka yangu pale. Kumbe tusubutu sasa, tutenge muda. Tuone jinsi gani tena tufanye kama mama yetu alivyosema. Sio mikutano yao kufanya mikutano, alafu baadaye hayatoi matunda. Ndivyo sasa watoto wetu wanapata shida. Mimi niseme tu mwenyekiti, kwa uchungu kabisa, tuone jinsi gani tunaweza kuamka na jinsi gani tubadilike na tukimbie. Tumechelewa. Wako wa China saizi watakuja kusafisha choo zetu kweli? Waje kuzibua mitalo yetu kweli? Kweli watujengee choo kweli? Tuna skills nyingi, tuna mavyuo vikuu, wamesoma watoto wetu, maprofesa wako hapa. Mimi huwa mara nyingi profesa wangu Kamzola anasema, "We profesa unafungua pabu. Profesa unafungua baa." Fundisha haya maneno mko nayo. Mimi niseme mwenyekiti na kushukuru sana. Kwa kweli tushikamane, tuungane na viongozi wetu, ndivyo mambo yaende.
Okay, asante sana mzee. Since some Ugandans will respond, let me ask Edward here to first give us a quick interpretation before I ask responses. Edward, just quickly share with the audience the question, briefly.
Thank you. The old man is sharing probably his frustration about how we address the youth unemployment, but also how can we change from business as usual to business unusual. But also we should take advantage of the youth demographic dividend so that we can use them, because so far in the world now we don't have a military war, we have economic war. So I think in a nutshell that the old man is looking forward, very optimistic about the kind of conversation we have, but we need to walk the talk.
Okay, thank you very much. Very good question. I think I'll ask two people to respond to this. Salvatore Ntomola first. And then I'll ask Eli Karuhanga to see how your efforts in the chamber are addressing the youth, if at all.
I will speak both Kiswahili and English. Nitazungumza Kiswahili ili wote tuelewane. Unemployment of trained youth. Tunaposema skills, ni tofauti na elimu. Huko sekta binafsi wanatofautisha kati ya kwenda shule na kujua jambo. Kwa mfano, unamkuta mtu amesoma computer science kutoka chuo kikuu. Unamwambia, je, unaweza ukafungua kompyuta? Chukua spana hiyo ufungue. Anajua kompyuta ilivyo, ataichora, atafanya kila kitu. Lakini kuifungua na kuifanya repair hawezi. Sasa sekta binafsi wanamkimbilia huyu mwenye spana. Yule aliyesoma akapata PhD kuhusu computer science, wanamuita huyu kasoma, lakini hana skills. Sasa kuna gap hapo. Serikali imefanya kazi nzuri sana ya kuelimisha vijana wetu, lakini sasa ilitakiwa sasa washikwe mkono wale vijana, wapelekwe kwenye skills. Na huyu bwana huyu wa NEC, chombo cha serikali cha uwezeshaji, Empowerment Council, wao wana kitu wameanza kufanya kinaitwa Center for Excellence. Labda ungetueleza.
Okay, thank you, Edward. Eli, can you first tell us what you're doing for the youth in your association before Edward explains what the National Empowerment Economic Empowerment is? Just briefly.
Yeah, briefly, the Chamber of Mines and Petroleum has addressed the issue of youth. First of all, we have worked in collaboration with Stanbic Bank and taken a lot of them, now almost 1,000, through incubation centers, where they spend about 2 months being trained, and they are certified in skills of how to run a small, medium enterprise, how to keep books, and we train them, and they go back, and then the banks know them. Now they know the bank, and so they can do business. 2, we have gone around schools and universities and given lectures to them so that they go for courses which are relevant, not Shakespeare, history, geography of Europe, and all that stuff, so they can become productive. We have also gone to women and youth to work with them, to empower them in mining, so that and put them in cooperatives. We think that if this oil finally comes out, it will create so much employment. Now, oil by itself does not create so much employment, because during the process of doing oil, building the pipeline, building the refinery, there is quite a lot of work. But after that, there isn't much work. But by that time, these youth, if they have participated in local content, they will be so skilled, they will do other jobs.
Thank you. Edward, the frameworks that the National Economic Empowerment Council is doing, are they addressing the aspect of youth capacity building?
Thank you. Yeah, youth are the center of the initiative we are taking place, because in terms of the framework, we have the 2 databases. We have the supplier database, whereby we are collecting information from the suppliers of various services and goods so that we can match them with the requirement of these projects which are ongoing across the country. But also we have another database for the skills identification. So youth are invited to register their skills so that also we match the skills with the requirement in terms of the projects which are ongoing. And this one I should like to emphasize that even in the morning, President Museveni was talking a lot about China in terms of the market they have, the population, 1.3 billion. Most of the companies, they are going to China not because of the population, not because of the cheap labor. They are going to China because of the skills available in China. China is one of the countries in the world where they find the right thing to invest in the vocational training. So if we want to succeed in the local content, whether Tanzania or Uganda, we have to put a lot of effort in terms of investment in our vocational training ecosystem, so that how do we prepare our young people, our youth, to take advantage of the available opportunities in these projects.
Thank you. Is there any final question before I ask the panelists to wind up? Yes, Marina, you have the floor. Stage in the morning, but I think it's good to remind us about who you are and what you do.
Thank you. My name is Marian Sevunya. I am a board member of the Private Sector Foundation of Uganda. First of all, let me congratulate my former boss, Engineer Patrick Batumbia, for benefiting from the local content in Uganda. However, the local content in Uganda has remained not very clear to the private sector for them to take advantage of what efforts government is putting in place for them. As a board member from the Private Sector Foundation, the leaders of the business, the definition of the local content has never been clear to us. We hear the law has been passed, the law has been taken back, the law. So I'm wondering whether we can share the experience of Tanzania to know how they define the local content, whether we define it the same way or we could borrow a leaf from them. I thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I think, Edward, you are the best person to share the experience of Tanzania as far as the law is concerned, so that we can see if Uganda can benefit.
Yeah, in terms of the definition of the local content, we have a number of definitions, and in our case, we have like 3 definitions. The first one is that local content in the aspect of the investment which is going on, the strategic investment, we are looking on the value addition from that kind of investment which is going on around the country. But secondly, local content also in terms of the foreign direct investments, whereby they are coming to invest in this country from different countries. So we are looking also the kind of investment which is coming and the exploitation Tanzanians they are getting in terms of the benefits. We are looking in terms of the employment, we are looking in terms of the technological transfer, but also we are looking on how the community around the projects are also benefiting from that kind of investment or project. But also we have some multilateral and bilateral kind of agreements and contracts which is going on across the country. So we're also looking on the value addition that kind of agreements they are bringing economically and socially to our community.
Okay, thank you very much. Just before you come in, she asked about the definition, and it's important that we get to know what the definition is. And his answer was that local content must lead to value addition. And local content sometimes is called national content. It's a measure of the participation of the people and enterprises in that country. It has been on for some time, and actually it is being measured. I can share with you that in the oil and gas sector, some countries have been measuring their local content. In other words, how much of the investment is going to their own people. Ghana has been measuring how much it is, and the percentage they have is 20%. Nigeria has been measuring, and the percentage they have is about 27%. Uganda, in the early phases of exploration, which involved a lot of work, and our work is on the ground, was 28%. The country we aspire to as doing well in the world, Norway, their percentage is 75%. So we need to get the definition on who is local content. Is it a Ugandan? Can a foreigner contribute to local content? But the objective should be the participation of the citizens of that country or of businesses of that country in the activity we are talking about. It may be a mining activity, it may be an oil and gas activity. I think we had a hand out there.
Can I
A quick one before we call the audience. Very quick.
Yeah. The local content at one time meant a company registered in Uganda. That would mean a Chinese company registered in Uganda is local content. So local content is not a fixed target. It's a moving target towards our people. So the law is moving slowly towards concretizing for our people. For example, on the pipeline, we would like to see local content, meaning Tanzanian companies and Ugandan companies on the pipeline, so that we zero that and find out what is a Tanzanian company and what is a Ugandan company. And it must be a company which is indigenously owned or something that is not discriminative. But it's a moving target towards our advantage.
Thank you very much. We have quick interventions, if I can start with you.
Okay. Yeah, Chairman, I just want to talk a little bit about the experience, just a short one. You know, TLC currently, on behalf of government, we are supervising the construction. Not supervising, actually, we are looking after the construction of standard gauge. Now, in terms of local content, because you talk about the working force, we have more than 15,000, employees who are working now, and 94% of that are Tanzanian, and 6% from Turkey, or from Turkey and Portugal. But that is in terms of the total employee. But when it comes to the expertise, you're talking about engineers and technicians. Contractually, it was supposed to be 20% Tanzanian, 80% from outside. Because of the skill, we don't have the technology.